Welcome to the Fantasy Audiobook. Start Dragon Ball, Vegeta has a system. Chapter 41. No way, I don't have that magical strength. I've been practicing for so long. I've already surpassed the limit now. Haha, Keelan said more and more embarrassingly under the gaze of everyone. But at the next moment, Keelan miraculously discovered that a powerful force suddenly emerged from his body, and he sighed in shock. Wow. Wow, power. Keelan screamed in shock at the sudden surge of power. This left Nairu and Dandy standing aside, Son Gohan and Vegeta quite speechless. Yeah, suddenly a strong force gushed out, it was too fierce. Klin held the Dragon Ball in his hand and shouted excitedly. I can't believe it, it's like being reborn. Keelan held up the Dragon Ball and spun around excitedly. He shouted at the elder, thank you. Seeing the power emerging from his body, Keelan asked belatedly, excuse me. Will this harm your lifespan? Huh, the great elder was surprised, and a happy smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. These people are really kind and always consider others. Anyone can be awakened as long as they have the sleeping power. Besides, I just gave you an opportunity, and it has nothing to do with my lifespan. Gohan, you can try it too, right? I think you must have a lot of power and you are still asleep. Hearing this, Krillin shouted happily at Gohan. Is my latent power that strong? Son Gohan looked at Keelan in confusion. Even my potential is so strong after being aroused, you have Saiyan blood, you will definitely be stronger. Keelan clenched his fists, encouraging Son Gohan. Strong and powerful justice, one more is one more. The great elder did not refuse, and nodded slightly in response. Seeing Krillin and Gohan holding hands and jumping excitedly, Vegeta silently walked to the elder, and said awkwardly, give me a moment. I can feel the blood on your body, but you seem to have a conscience, you are a contradictory person. The elder observed Vegeta, and slowly put his hand on top of his head. Is it human or not? The elder seemed to be perceiving Vegeta's past, but he didn't make it clear. Soon, Vegeta looked at his hands, and he felt something shattered deep inside his body, followed by a swarm of power. Many are powerful, you must try to escape from their murderous hands. The great elder commanded everyone worriedly. Then we will take this Dragon Ball away. Keelan held up the Dragon Ball with both hands and nodded to the elder in thanks. Go, the future of this planet and the universe depends entirely on you. The elder said goodbye to everyone. Sun Wuhan walked out of the house first, looked at the deep blue sky, and felt the powerful power that the great elder said just now, hey. It's not dad, this breath is more than one person. Mo Fei. Jai shi ji niu te zan dui, bei ji ta mei tu kuchi shi shi da cha tanje, 1 ideographic comma 2 ideographic comma 3 ideographic comma 4 ideographic comma 5 mei quola. Jai xie ge jahuo jai mikue ju gan lila. Frieza actually sent the Ginyu team. Vegeta snorted coldly in his heart. Fortunately, after the battle with Monkey King, his combat effectiveness has improved a lot. This plot is really stubborn. Frieza seems to be very angry at being teased by himself. The opponent's speed is too fast, hurry up and make a wish. Vegeta shouted at Dandy next to him. Looking at the Dragon Ball on the ground, Keelan felt a little emotional, this moment has finally come. After the dragon appears, the partners can be resurrected. Sun Wuhan also said with emotion. Come out, Shenlong. Looking at the 7 Dragon Balls on the ground, Keelan took a deep breath and then shouted loudly. Dragon Ball didn't respond, and the scene was a bit awkward for a while. Vegeta looked at Krillin like an idiot. Could this guy be an idiot? What's going on? Why doesn't the dragon come out? Keelan looked at the unresponsive Dragon Ball on the ground in shock, why? That's right, why didn't Shenlong come out? Is the spell wrong? Sun Wuhan also quickly reacted, and put his eyes on Dandy. Dandy, hurry up and call Shenlong, the Ginyu team is coming soon. Vegeta said to Dandy, HMPH, first fulfill my wish, don't dawdle. Before Vegeta finished speaking, Krillin interrupted directly. No, we have to save our companions first. Krillin yelled at Vegeta angrily. Ah that. Dandy stretched out his hand and looked at the quarrel between Vegeta and Krillin a little helplessly. Do you want to show some face? I collected the Dragon Balls, why should I ask you to make a wish first? Vegeta looked at Klin with a sneer. What qualifications does he have to confidently tell himself the order of making wishes? In the original plot, it was because of their chirping at the end that the original Vegeta missed his wish of immortality. It's only 1 minute away, the Great Elder dies, and the Dragon Ball loses its effect. Haven't you guys discussed it yet? Those 5 evil forces are already approaching this way. Neil frowned and looked at the two arguing. Get out of here quickly, don't affect the safety of the Great Elder. Keelan was suddenly speechless. What should I do? Monkey King is not here again, and now the most powerful person here is Vegeta. But, what about our companions? Can we wait until the next time? Keelan planned to struggle for a while. Stop talking nonsense to me, believe it or not, I'll kill you. Vegeta clenched his fists, the veins on his forehead popping up. Dragon Balls can grant 3 wishes. Naru looked at Krillin and Vegeta impatiently. You all have a chance. Get out of here quickly and go somewhere else to make a wish. Naruba wanted these individuals to leave quickly and stop staying here. If they endangered the Great Elder, no one's wish would be fulfilled. Hurry up, or when they arrive, no one's wish will come true after Frieza gets the detector. Vegeta took the lead in picking up the 3 Dragon Balls and flew towards midair. It's good, but after you fulfill your wish, you can't do anything to us. Keelan gritted his teeth and said unwillingly. He doesn't trust Vegeta. Who knows if this guy will go back on his word and kill them after he gets immortality. Hurry up, Vegeta urged, dissatisfied in the distance. Neil watched them all fly away and returned to the house. When the Great Elder saw him coming in, he asked aloud, have they all left? Yes, Neil replied with a respectful nod, and then asked as if thinking of something, their chance of winning is slim, right? Nilu, you go too. The Great Elder said in a weary voice, but still full of worry, maybe I can help them. But, Nilu was very reluctant. Those people's affairs were not as important as being by the Great Elder's side. He wanted to accompany the Great Elder for the last journey. I'm fine, I can hold on for a while. The Great Elder smiled. Neil had no choice but to bend down again and nod in response, yes. Bulma was brought by Sun Wukong to the side of the spaceship she was on, and seeing Sun Wukong flying away again, she suddenly sighed with emotion. Hey, Wukong never thought he would become such a powerful character, but I always quarrel with Yamcha. Did I choose the wrong one? The round single-person spaceship of the Ginyu team has also reached the Namek planet. Frieza looked at the ground where 5 deep pits had been smashed through the tattered transparent cover, and curled his lips happily. The Ginyu team has finally arrived. It took so long. They've already landed. Vegeta, Krillin, Son Gohan, and Dandy landed on the ground far away from the Great Elder, and they looked at each other. Hurry up, Dandy, hurry up and call out Shenlong. Vegeta hurriedly urged. And as Frieza flew out of the hole in the transparent cover, the hatches of the spacecraft in several huge pits opened. Call. All the members of the Ginyu team flew out of the spaceship. Whoosh whoosh, pat. Several people landed on the spaceship, facing Frieza and posing in their own unique team poses. P.S. Don't write the action, lest you think I'm stupid. Shua, Likyum, Crack, Bada alias Bart. Whoosh, Geese. Shaw, Gurudo alias Gouda. Crack, Ginyu. All together, the 5 shouted loudly in unison, Team Ginyu. A gust of cold wind blew by, and Frieza was quite speechless watching those flamboyant movements. Soon, Frieza recovered his expression, and said dissatisfiedly to the members of the Ginyu team, Ha, you kept me waiting for so long. I'm so sorry, Ginyu hurriedly said, taking the task on himself. King Frieza, leave this task to us. The Dragon Balls I collected were taken away by the traitor Vegeta. Frieza said about the current situation, catch him back for me, he will live. Let him reveal the whereabouts of the Dragon Balls. No problem, Ginyu responded readily, reaching out to press the sensor on his left eye. We have mastered Vegeta's actions. He's not very far from here. There are 3 other people with him, 2 of them have high combat effectiveness, and the other has almost no combat effectiveness. 3. Has Vegeta already had an accomplice since? HMPH, capture Vegeta alive, and kill the rest. Frieza snorted coldly. Understood, then the game will begin. Ginyu responded. King Frieza, this is the detector you want. Geese held a box in both hands and handed it to Frieza. Frieza nodded and accepted, thank you. Then let's act, Ginyu said, then turned around and formed a circle with the other 4 opponents, fisting each other to cheer each other up. Come on. Yes. The next moment, the 5 members of the Ginyu team quickly flew into the air, heading towards the place where Vegeta and the others were. And the 3 Vegetas here looked at Dandy. If you want to realize your wish, you must say it in Namek. Namek. Keelan nodded in a sudden realization. Hurry up and summon the dragon. Vegeta urged anxiously. Operator Sheer Osvex. Dandy spoke Namek with both hands facing the Dragon Ball on the ground. Hiss. After Dandy finished speaking, the Dragon Balls on the ground started to light up. Son Gohan looked happily, it's glowing. Ah! Immediately after, Sun Wuhan also noticed that the sky had turned dark. Suddenly the sky also turned dark. This situation is the same as on Earth. Keelan also sighed. The light of Dragon Ball suddenly became brighter, and several people present stretched out their hands to block it. Hey, the sky is getting dark. Sun Wukong paused for a while, looking at the surrounding scenery. He clenched his fists happily. Could it be Gohan and Klin who started to make a wish with Shenlong? I want to go there quickly. Sun Wukong's figure flashed across the night sky like a streamer. What happened? Frieza, who was sitting on the aircraft, looked at the dark sky in surprise. Why did it suddenly turn into night? Is there such a strange phenomenon on Namek? But on the planet of the King of the World, with the King of the World shouting, everyone's emotions were a little high. Aha! Wishes can come true. Great! Yamcha exclaimed excitedly. Seeing the Shenlong appearing at this moment, Sun Wuhan and Keelan both stared wide-eyed, their faces full of amazement. Because the dragon of Namek is fundamentally different from the dragon of Earth, it is even bigger, and looks a bit like the lamp god in Aladdin's lamp, named Porunga. It's so big. It's much bigger than the ones on Earth. Keelan was shocked and a little scared. The shape is also different. Wow, this is Shenlong. Sun Wuhan was also surprised. His name is Porunga, which means the god of dreams. Dandy was quite calm, explaining lightly, it's also the first time I've seen him. Say your wish, owner of the 7 Dragon Balls. Porunga's strong voice sounded. He looked at Dandy on the ground and said slowly, within my ability, I can help you realize 3 wishes. Really 3 wishes? Keelan was even more surprised. Is the dragon on Namek so powerful? Yeah, 3 wishes can be granted at once. Dandy replied. Okay, don't talk nonsense, first fulfill my wish of immortality. Vegeta said impatiently, too much nonsense, and the Ginyu team will arrive soon. Let's talk about it first. Krillin turned to look at Dandy. Resurrect all the Earthlings killed by Saiyans. Vegeta didn't grab anything. The more arguments, the more time wasted. Operator she arose or. Seeing that Vegeta had no objection, Dandy spoke Namek to Porunga. It's impossible, only one person can be resurrected at a time. Porunga refused unexpectedly. Keelan was stunned. Sun Wuhan also said in surprise, no way. Oh, only one person can be revived at a time. The King of Kai, who had been watching the few people making wishes on Namek, also sighed. 1. Yamcha and Tianjin fans standing behind him were also surprised. I want to talk to Gohan. Please, Piccolo said to King Kai at this time. What's the matter? Within my ability, I can help you realize 3 wishes. Seeing that Dandy didn't answer, Porunga asked aloud. Troublesome, it's too stingy to revive only one person at a time, isn't it? Krillin looked at Vegeta dissatisfied. Blame this guy, they destroyed a large city when they came to Earth. HMPH, then discuss it slowly. Dandy will fulfill my wish first, I want to live forever. Vegeta disdainfully ignored Klin's angry eyes. So if you say, even with 3 wishes, you can only save 3 people. Who should you let? Sun Wuhan is still depressed, so he doesn't know who should be revived first. Dandy nodded. He knew that Vegeta had collected all the Dragon Balls, so he raised his head and continued to shout Namek to Porunga above. Okay, Porunga nodded, staring at Vegeta's figure. Vegeta felt as if there was a slight change in his body. His cells were changing slowly and regularly, as if there were strange changes, but if there were any special changes. That is, he felt that his strength had been significantly increased, but not much, and it was estimated that the increase was only about 100,000. Okay, now it's the second wish, Porunga's rich voice sounded. King Kai turned to look at the anxious Piccolo, and asked curiously, are you going to talk to Sun Wukong's son? What are you doing, Piccolo? Hurry up, please. Piccolo clenched his fists dissatisfied. Oh, that's good, put your hands on my shoulders and talk. King Kai turned his head and said. Thank you. Piccolo stretched out his hand quickly. Just talking like this, Vegeta has already fulfilled his wish. He hooked his lips and smiled wickedly with his arms folded. His mood was unprecedentedly comfortable. Gohan, did you hear that? I'm Piccolo, Piccolo shouted anxiously. No way, where are you? Keelan also heard Piccolo's voice. He turned his head and looked around, trying to find Piccolo. Uncle Piccolo. Son Gohan also looked around. I'm talking to you through the king of the world. Piccolo explained. The king of Kai, who was put on his shoulders, muttered dissatisfiedly, you should call me Lord Kai. Hey, Heart, what the hell? Clint couldn't react immediately. I know that one wish can only revive one person. Listen up, let me resurrect first. Piccolo said quickly. In that case, the gods can be resurrected, and the Dragon Balls on the earth can also recover their magical powers, and everyone can be rescued. That's right, this is the best way. Hearing Piccolo's words, Krillin said happily to Sun Wuhan. I see, Uncle Piccolo. Son Gohan nodded excitedly. And Dandy and Vegeta couldn't hear Piccolo's words at all, and Dandy looked at the happy two very puzzled. Vegeta, on the other hand, walked to the side of the rock and sat down. These guys are still chatting about making a wish. Wait for the Ginyu team to come and see what they do. That's right. Hearing Piccolo's words, Tianjin Fan also nodded in agreement. That's a good idea. Yamcha felt that Piccolo's brain was really powerful. The second wish is. Piccolo ignored everyone's exaggeration, put his hand on King Kai's shoulder and continued, let me go back to planet Namek, and I want to fight Frieza. He killed so many of my compatriots. The cultivation here has greatly increased my strength. I will definitely be able to defeat him. Let me go. Okay, Uncle Piccolo. After listening to Piccolo, Sun Wuhan quickly said the remaining two wishes to Dandy. It's all up to you. You can figure out the third wish. When Piccolo just talked to King Kai, he didn't know that the first wish had already been used by Vegeta. Or, since Skaeaouf. Okay, no problem. Porunga agreed, and then he said, your wish has come true. Puff. The halo above Piccolo's head disappeared under everyone's gaze. Then Piccolo shouted excitedly, I've been resurrected, send me to planet Namek. At the same time, in the temple on the earth, Bobo looked at the god who suddenly appeared, trembling with excitement, wow god. HMPH, this guy Piccolo is quite smart. The god smiled. The last wish is for the revived Piccolo to come to Namek. Son Gohan yelled at Dandy while clenching his tiny fists. Oh, got it. Vegeta suddenly stood up and looked towards the midair in the distance, and Klin followed him and turned his head to look at the same time. 5 streamers in the distant sky were flying towards here quickly. Dandy, hurry up. Keelan pointed to the 5 streamers in the midair behind him, urging anxiously. Whoosh, and the Ginyu team that flew over quickly also discovered a strange glowing creature in that place. Why is there a beam of light there? Ginyu, who was flying at the forefront, was the first to notice the abnormality. Recoome next to him also felt a little strange. I heard that there is no night on Namek. Could it be because of the creature in front? Couldn't they be using the Dragon Ball that King Frieza said to fulfill their wishes? Geese said what he was thinking. The members of the Ginyu team looked at each other, and then accelerated again in unison. Sansauxa Hollow Diamond Ling, TSTTFS. Dandy shouted hastily. Easy, your third wish has also come true. Porunga said calmly, and Piccolo, who was far away from the king of the realm, disappeared instantly. Where are people? Sun Wuhan turned his head and looked around. Didn't he say that the wish came true? Ah, you said let him come to Namek, but you didn't say he came to us. Dandy replied belatedly. The aura of these people is so powerful. Keelan clenched his fists and watched the distance between the Ginyu team and them getting closer. And Piccolo, who was resurrected by Porunga, stood on the top of a certain mountain on Namek, facing the howling cold wind. Piccolo looked at the scenery in front of him in surprise, and he murmured blankly, this is my hometown, Namek. I see, it makes people feel familiar. Piccolo murmured, looking at the somewhat familiar yet extremely strange environment in front of him. Maybe it's because Namekian blood flows in my veins. Soon Piccolo turned his head and looked around. Well, there's no time to express emotion now. Where are Gohan and the others? Soon Piccolo detected the location of some gas on the planet. There is a very powerful aura over there, is it Frieza? Why are Gohan and the others together with Vegeta? It's so far away from the aura. Whoosh! Piccolo flew up and quickly flew towards the place where Sun Wuhan was. There are still 5 not weak breaths approaching them. Okay, your 3 wishes have been fulfilled, so goodbye. Porunga said. His whole body exuded a faint light. Immediately afterwards, it turned into a light spot and flew into the air, and the glowing Dragon Ball suddenly turned into a round stone and fell from the air. Bang bang. Vegeta looked at the stone that fell next to him expressionlessly, but Dandy suddenly exclaimed when he looked at the stone, "Huh! The Great Elder is dead. The maker of the Dragon Ball, the Great Elder is dead." Dandy's mood fell into a trough. They are coming. Vegeta walked in front of Dandy and shouted at Dandy, who was still sad, "Go hide and cry slowly." Arrive. 5 streamers fell to the ground, and Ginyu looked at Vegeta on the opposite side and said first, "Hello, Vegeta." Yeah, Sun Wuhan was surprised by the strength of the Ginyu team. They're so fast. Keelan also had a horrified expression. The system issued a mission. The host defeated the Ginyu team. Mission completion rewards Super Saiyan 1 blood activated to 95%. As soon as Vegeta saw Ginyu, the voice of the system sounded in his mind. The reward for this mission is really beyond a miracle. A direct increase of 25%. Then after defeating the Ginyu team, he can immediately become a Super Saiyan. Naturally, defeating Frieza is no problem at all. Update information. The host Vegeta, the combat power is 58, the pure Saiyan blood is 100%, and the Super Saiyan 1 has activated 70%. Is it such a high combat effectiveness? That's right, I started the battle with Wukong first, and I was seriously injured, so it's normal that my combat power has obviously increased. At that time, it was estimated that there were more than 20, plus the potential developed by the Great Elder, there was a potential of 10,000 plus. Including the increase in combat power of wishing not to grow old, so many are normal. Huh, are those round stones Dragon Balls? Keith looked at the round stones on the ground with some doubts. Bart frowned, and looked at Ginyu with some doubts. Captain, they have already used this stone. Can it be used again? I don't know, I'll take it back to King Frieza first, and I'll leave it to you. Ginyu was not afraid of the people present at all, and walked carelessly in front of the invalid Dragon Ball, showing that the Dragon Ball belonged to them. HMPH. Vegeta snorted coldly, the current Dragon Ball is just a stone, they can take it as they like, he doesn't mind at all. The power of these guys is really frighteningly powerful. Keelan clenched his fists and looked at the members of the Ginyu team vigilantly, thinking in his heart. They are not opponents at all. Keelan looked at Ginyu, and found that this person should be the most powerful of the 5, and Guruduo, who was like a dwarf. This guy is no big deal. But why is he hanging out with these guys? Keelan thinks it's not that simple. Do it obediently, don't think about resisting, or I won't let you off, Vegeta. Ginyu saw that Vegeta had no intention of occupying the Dragon Balls, a little strange. HMPH, it doesn't matter. Vegeta shrugged indifferently. You are so cute, Vegeta, it seems that you are very self-aware. Ginyu smiled and crossed his arms, then let's talk about how to solve you. Ginyu smirked, hey, I haven't exercised for a long time, now is a good opportunity. That means we should teach them a good lesson and show our prestige. Gith, who was standing behind Ginyu, echoed. Ginyu looked at him dissatisfied, shut up. Vegeta, what should we do? Krillin turned his head to look at Vegeta, who was still extremely calm with his arms folded. What should I do? Let's fight. Vegeta didn't care at all. Ginyu's combat power was only 12, he was afraid of a hammer. What a joke. Leave Vegeta to me, you take care of the remaining 2. Ginyu turned and said to the 4 people behind him. Why hasn't Dad come back yet? Sun Wuhan looked at the powerful people in front of him and clenched his fists nervously. At this moment, Monkey King is flying away quickly, and Piccolo is coming on the way. I don't agree, Captain. The first one to object was Bada. Immediately afterwards, Recoome also said in a voice full of resentment, it's you who show the limelight every time. That's it. Gurudo also muttered. Then, I'll present the Dragon Ball to King Frieza, Ginyu said helplessly with a drop of cold sweat on his forehead. Stop arguing, let's guess punches, the winner will deal with Vegeta, and the number 2 will deal with those 2 brats. Ginyu said as he was about to leave with the Dragon Balls when he suddenly turned his head and said, "By the way, there's a garbage guy hiding behind the rock over there, remember to get rid of it too." "Oh, that's great." Hearing Ginyu's decision, the other 4 raised their hands and booed happily. "I don't have an opinion now." Ginyu curled his lips helplessly. "Okay, rock, scissors, and paper." The 4 players gathered together and started guessing fists. Bloom. A draw. Again, looking at the group of playful people, Sun Wuhan whispered to Keelan, "Let's take this opportunity to escape." His current combat power is simply inferior to the few people in front of him. Vegeta didn't pay attention to these 2 people at all. Even if he was alone, he could beat the Ginyu team present. Rock, shears, cloth. Seeing the winner, Keith yelled dissatisfiedly, "It's unlucky." "Ha, Vegeta is mine." Recoome shouted happily. "Hi, it's boring." Guldo was dissatisfied. "King Frieza can live forever." Ha ha ha. Ginyu watched as Ginyu flew away holding a few incapacitated Dragon Balls. Vegeta almost couldn't help laughing. He really wanted to see how Frieza would react when he saw these stones. Let go of Ginyu now. Anyway, sooner or later he will die by his hands. Do you want to fight? If not, I'll let them all fight together. Vegeta turned to look at Son Gohan and asked. "Huh, Sun Wuhan couldn't recover, they are very powerful." "It is powerful, that is for you, and for me, I am stronger than them." Vegeta sneered. "Whether it is strong or not, it is also necessary to divide people. Are you guys discussing countermeasures?" "Ha ha." Recoome looked at Vegeta and Son Gohan and muttered, and asked mockingly. "Then the game has begun." Recoome and Guldo took a few steps forward, looked at the 3 of Vegeta, ready to fight. Krillin and Son Gohan looked at each other vigilantly, but Vegeta was very calm and calm. "Guldo, kill those 2 boys first." Recoome glanced at Guldo from the corner of his eye, and the battle between him and Vegeta was adjourned. A wonderful battle, of course, has to be the finale later. Vegeta is non-committal. "HMPH, I'm not a cleaner, but I'm really overqualified," Guldo said with his arms akimbo in an unhappy tone. "Hee, I thought it was a game, you are so arrogant." Vegeta turned to look at Krillin and Son Gohan, who were about to ask questions. Krillin, however, had already set his posture, and said to Sun Wuhan, "Gohan, do you still remember the training in the spaceship?" "Yes." Son Gohan nodded. "HMPH, I'll kill you without any effort." Guldo stretched out his hand, looking at the 2 people in front of him like looking at garbage. "Get ready." Keelan stared at Guldo in front of him, and roared, "Let out all your anger." Then Sun Wuhan and Klin Chi exploded. To the surprise of several people, the detectors they carried kept beeping. Snapped. Sun Wuhan and Krillin leapt into the air at the same time, firing Qigong waves towards Guldo. Seeing that the Qigong wave was about to hit Guldo, he shouted, "Time stands still." After his words fell, time seemed to really stop, and the Qigong wave also stopped in front of him. Guldo quickly jumped up from the spot, holding his breath, and dodged to the side. Swish. Cha. After avoiding the Qigong wave, Guldo quickly turned around to find the figures of Sun Wuhan and Keelan, little guy. But when he stretched out his hand to attack, he found that the 2 of them were nowhere to be seen. No. Where did he go? Over there. Guldo turned his head to look around, and found 2 figures appearing in the sky. They ran so far. Only for a moment. Feeling that he couldn't hold his breath, Guldo stretched out his hands angrily. "I'm so mad. Time can't stand still any longer." "Yeah." As Guldo gasped, time resumed flowing. The Qigong wave hit the ground and made a huge explosion. "What's the situation?" Sun Wuhan was a little dazed. "What happened just now?" "There." Krillin noticed Guldo's figure and quickly reminded Sun Wuhan loudly. Vegeta crossed his arms, looked at Guldo with a frown, and reminded the 2, "He will stop time. You 2 pay attention." "Really? These 2 guys?" Puff. Sun Wuhan and Keelan were a little stunned when they heard this, but quickly recovered and moved quickly, and then their figures disappeared again. Guldo was frightened. He quickly shouted loudly and held his breath. "Time. Stand still." Snapped. As time stood still again, the figures of Sun Wuhan and Keelan appeared, not far from Gerudo's sides. Oh, let's see what other tricks you have. Using time still consumes too much energy. Gerudo felt a little powerless, and he ran quickly towards the back of a rock. Hide behind the rocks first, and then do it when they don't pay attention. He turned his head and gasped for breath. Drink. Klin and Sun Gohan, who resumed their actions, found that the person in front of them disappeared again, and the next moment they found Gerudo's breath. Over there, Sun Gohan yelled, and Gerudo, who was hiding behind the rock and stretched out his hand to attack, saw the two flying towards this side, and shouted in surprise, "Ah! How did they know? Time can't stand still anymore." Gerudo thought angrily, then he yelled with his 4 eyes wide open, sacrificing his superpower to restrain Klin and Sun Wuhan. Drink. Sun Wuhan and Keelan, who came at a high speed, suddenly felt that their actions were imprisoned. The two of them hovered in midair, unable to move their bodies. Yeah, Keelan struggled hard. Body. I can't move anymore. Sun Gohan yelled angrily. Gerudo, are not easy to mess with. Let me show you my golden binding technique. Gerudo put his fists empty and put his fingers together. How old are you and how did you find me? Keelan gritted his back molars. At first he felt that this dwarf's combat effectiveness was low, but he always thought it was not that simple. Now it seems that they were too careless. Call. I'm going to skewer you into skewers, haha, and grill them again. It's delicious, Gerudo said, waving his 2 hands, cutting the towering trees next to them into pointed ends. It's really surprising. The other 3 people flew into the air from the explosion just now, and they fell to the ground at this moment. Snapped. The fighting power of these 2 boys is obviously over 1. Geese looked at the battle over there with his hands on his hips. Haha, Gerudo is in a hurry. It's rare to see him use the gold binding technique. Bada also echoed. This kind of race is indeed rare, and it can improve its combat effectiveness without transforming. Recoome sighed as he looked at the huge pothole Sun Wuhan and Sun Wuhan made just now. Haha, Vegeta, your friend is very smart. Looking at Vegeta with his arms crossed, Bada jokingly said. Hehe, it's just 2 idiots. Vegeta shrugged noncommittally. It seems that he still has to appear. If you don't run away again, you 2 will be linked together. Gerudo said arrogantly and pressed his hand hard, and the sharp tree trunk flew towards Sun Wuhan and Krillin. Sun Wuhan and Keelan both bit their back teeth and tried to struggle desperately, but their bodies remained motionless. Seeing the sharp tree trunk getting closer, Keelan gritted his teeth anxiously and glanced at Sun Gohan. Gohan, is there any way? No, my nerves are numb. Just when Gerudo was so proud of wanting to see the 2 go together, Vegeta appeared behind him, and with a wave of his hand, he chopped off Gerudo's head. As for the sharp tree trunk that could reach the tip of his nose, Keelan felt that his body could move, so he quickly avoided it. Can move. Puff. Surprised by the other Ginyu teams, Gerudo's body fell to the ground, and his head rolled far away. Even if his head was moved, Gerudo didn't die immediately. He looked at Vegeta with a very dissatisfied expression. It's so despicable. Vegeta is a game between me and those 2 brats. TCH, what are you talking about? Fighting has always been divided into strong and weak, the difference between life and death. Vegeta looked at the ugly head with disdain. I didn't expect that I would be planted in the hands of you, you low-level Saiyan. I will die with regret. Seeing the blood overflowing from the corner of his mouth, and Gerudo who was bleeding from the broken neck but was still alive and kept talking nonsense, Vegeta directly hit him with an air bullet. Boom, you're going to save us. Keelan looked at Vegeta in disbelief. This guy isn't a good guy, but he doesn't look like a bad guy either. Thank you. Sun Gohan also looked at Vegeta and thanked him. HMPH, don't get me wrong, I didn't mean to save you, I just wanted to kill him. Vegeta turned her head arrogantly, and set her sights on the rest of the Ginyu team. Oh, Gerudo was killed. Keith was surprised, but there was no hurt or angry expression at all. Recoome was also dissatisfied. Oh, if one person is missing, the battle formation of our special operations team will not be perfect. Bada began to think about this problem. We have to ask the captain to redesign a new 4-person battle formation. Let's talk about that later. Who will deal with those 2 brats? Geese turned to look at the other 2 team members. Of course it's guessing again. Bada said hastily. Then I'll deal with Vegeta first. Recoome looked at Vegeta and said jokingly. Why are those guys so annoying? Keelan was speechless. Then let me take care of the rest. Vegeta pursed his lips, and put down his hands that hugged his chest. Hee, you're quite a big talker. Recoome sneered disdainfully. If those two brats want to help, I don't mind if you do it together. Hey, what nonsense are you talking about? That's ours. Keith said dissatisfied. These guys who look down on people. Keelan clenched his fists angrily, but there was nothing he could do. Ginyu. Recoome clenched his fists to the left, and then he raised his hands above his head together, Special Forces. Prophet. Vegeta was disgusted when he saw it. It was an embarrassment for a big man to pose like this. Vegeta kicked his feet and rushed towards Recoome, grabbed his wrist and threw it towards the sky. On the other side, Naru, who was about to reach the place where Vegeta was ordered by the Elder to help Vegeta and the others. But when he saw Vegeta's absolute crushing, he was not calm and surprised. Naru did not meet with Vegeta and the other three, and went back the same way. Compared with Vegeta and their so-called needs, he felt that the Elder needed his protection more, and the result he saw when he went back was: the life of the Great Elder has passed away. On the other side, Ginyu returned to Frieza with stones turned from 7 Dragon Balls. Frieza looked at the 7 round stones on the ground with cold eyes. Captain Ginyu, is this Dragon Ball? Frieza asked Ginyu with a cold look. Yes, we snatched it from Vegeta with our own hands, but they seem to have summoned it with this Dragon Ball. Ginyu quickly explained when he saw Frieza's dangerous eyes. Vegeta. Frieza clenched his fist angrily, the veins on his forehead popping out. Then what's the use of this stone now? This thing is definitely not for one-time use. We can let the Namekians restore it. Ginyu looked at the extremely angry Frieza, and quickly expressed his idea. He didn't want to accept that Frieza was angry and blamed them for not doing things right. That makes sense. Frieza nodded. He suppressed the anger in his heart and stretched out his hand to press the detector he was carrying. But we almost killed all the Nameks, and the Nameks in the 2 villages under Vegeta's hands were also gone. This is Vegeta, maybe he knows something. I don't know if there are other living Nameks on this planet. Don't let them kill Vegeta. Frieza pressed the detector and gave an order to Ginyu. Beep beep. Oh, in the area of 8,829,401, there seems to be a living Namek. Frieza clenched his fist excitedly. Great, we haven't attacked there yet. Then let me do it. Tell him how to turn stones into Dragon Balls. Ginyu said quickly, trying to calm Frieza's anger. No, I'll go in person. Frieza turned to look at Ginyu and directly refused. Only I know how to deal with them. Captain Ginyu, you are responsible for watching these stones. Yes. Ginyu hurriedly raised his hand above his head in response. Don't worry. Frieza's aircraft jumped directly into the sky and flew towards the direction where the Great Elder was. He shouted excitedly, "Ha, hurry up." His high speed, the position of the Great Elder, can be reached very quickly. On Vegeta's side, the battle continued. How dare you interrupt the formation of my Special Forces team? Recoome, who was thrown into the air, stabilized his body and looked angrily at the ground. On the ground, there is no sign of Vegeta. Hey, look, I'm right behind you. Vegeta stretched out one hand and punched Recoome on the back, causing him to fall quickly. Boom. Recoome, who couldn't struggle at all, was directly smashed to the ground exploded, and after the smoke dissipated, there were people with broken protective clothing lying in the huge pit. Isn't this kid Vegeta's combat power just over too? Geese crossed his arms and asked in confusion. Bada was also so surprised that he was speechless. Beep beep. Ha. Looking at the values fluctuating wildly up and down on the detector, Geese unexpectedly thought that the detector was broken. What's going on? Bada quickly turned his head to look behind him. Vegeta was already standing with his lips curled up. When did you guys come here? What happened? Hearing Bada's exclamation, Sun Wuhan and Keelan Chi-Chi looked together. This guy Vegeta. Keelan's eyes widened, his pupils shrank sharply, and his expression was unbelievable. It seems that you have always underestimated me. Vegeta stretched out his hands, released the breath on his body, and shot the two of them back. You guy. Bada looked at Vegeta angrily. His feet made a long mark on the ground, and it was hard for him to hold on to the ground with one hand to stabilize his figure. It hurts me so much. Vegeta, do you think you can defeat me with this one blow? Recoome, struggling to get up from the pit, clenched his fists and roared angrily. The fist in Krillin's hand was clenched tightly, and he looked at Vegeta's back and thought. This guy is getting more and more powerful, and I can't see Vegeta's movements at all now. What should this guy do if he wants to invade the Earth in the future? Son Gohan also looked at Vegeta in surprise. This man is stronger than he imagined. I don't know if the current father can beat him. Recoome roared angrily, and he put on a unique posture, start attacking. Then he raised his hands high, and the anger on his body exploded, invincible tactics. HMPH. Vegeta flew towards Recoome and hit his abdomen with an elbow. Your posture is full of flaws. Wow. Recoome's eyes popped out instantly, and the whites of his eyes were bloodshot. What are you talking about? Boom. After the words fell, Recoome fell unconscious and fell to the ground. Son Gohan and Krillin stared blankly, while Geese and Bada were completely shocked. HMPH, one of them has been dealt with. Vegeta curled up his mouth, stretched out his hand and hit the unconscious Recoome with an air bullet, killing him instantly. He won so easily. Krillin's forehead was dripping with cold sweat, and there was a tremor in his words. I didn't expect Recoome to be there too. Geese looked at the detector in shock. Why is the value always at more than 2 without any change? And he still lost to such a simple move as Vegeta. Bada's forehead was covered with cold sweat. Recoome's combat power is about the same as ours. Even though Geese watched Recoome's death, he still didn't intend to believe what happened in front of him. He must have underestimated the enemy. It's just a coincidence. His combat power has not improved, so let the invincible Ginyu team teach him a lesson. Ready to attack, Keith shouted. What? Wow. Vegeta smiled contemptuously. Seeing the 2 rushing people falling in front of him, Geese yelled arrogantly, listen, Vegeta, our Ginyu team is not easy to mess with. Tongue dry. Vegeta quickly swung a punch directly on Keith's face. Wow. Bada was surprised. Keith covered his face instinctively. He looked at the nosebleed on his palm and glared at Vegeta angrily, you fool. You're looking down on me. Keith kicked violently. And Bada, standing behind Vegeta, also hit Vegeta on the head with his elbow at the same time. Vegeta stretched out his hands directly, catching the attacks of the 2 with his elbows. Facing the fight between the 2, Vegeta was able to handle it with ease. He pushed his hands and shouted, and sent the 2 of them flying with his breath. What's going on with Vegeta? Geese yelled angrily as he stabilized his body in the air. What did he do just now? Bada was also confused and looked nervous. It's rubbish. Vegeta snorted coldly. What the hell, you've always been around 2 combat power. Geese clenched his fists angrily. Krillin watched his brows tightly knit together, and exclaimed in his heart, it's not that the combat power has not changed, it's that Vegeta only increased his combat power at the moment of attack. In order to reduce energy consumption, he can only gather all his abilities at the moment of attack. Vegeta, this guy is really scary. Very amazing fighting power. To be tricked by a fool who is not as good as me. Bada kept pressing his detector. Gith, attack him with an explosive ball, wait for him to dodge. How is it? Keith asked while reaching out to touch the detector. I'm attacking from behind. My speed is the fastest in the universe, so he won't be able to escape. Bada's voice came from the detector. Listen to you, just do it, Keith responded. Explosion. In the next moment, an energy ball condensed on Gi's left hand, and he hit the energy ball with his right hand back like playing volleyball. Ball. Hey, wait until you die, Vegeta. Bada raised the corners of his mouth, showing a contemptuous smile. Surprised by Son Gohan and Krillin, Vegeta stood unmoved, watching the explosive ball getting closer and closer to him. Bada began to worry for him. Why don't you hide? Quickly hide. Humph. Vegeta swung his palm away in a fugue, and sent the energy ball flying. Yeah, seeing the energy ball coming towards him, Bada quickly dodged. It was blocked. Keith yelled angrily. HMPH. Bada turned his head to look at the ground, but out of the corner of his eye he saw Vegeta still standing behind him. Huh. What are you doing? Geese opened his mouth in shock. Why did Vegeta become so powerful? Unscientific. The detector has not changed. Vegeta crossed his arms and looked at Bada. What speed is the fastest in the universe? It's ridiculous. When did you run behind me? Bada looked at Vegeta in surprise, full of incomprehensible expressions. My explosive bomb was blocked by him. It's unbelievable that he ran behind Bada in the blink of an eye. Keith suddenly had the idea of wanting to escape. Such a Vegeta is too scary. I don't believe it. Bada roared angrily. He first grabbed Vegeta with all 5 fingers, but seeing that he couldn't hit him, he quickly kicked again. Swish. Ha. Faced with Bada's fierce attack, Vegeta easily dodged. You are underestimating the Ginyu team. Geese was startled by his sudden thought. He clenched his fist angrily and flew towards Vegeta. Hoo-hoo. Clap. Facing the 2-person attack of Geese and Bada, Vegeta was still able to handle it with ease. You guys are really annoying. Vegeta dodged Keith's punch and Bada's flying kick. He turned and kicked Bada's back until Bada's protective suit was broken. Seeing Bada falling in midair, Vegeta rushed up and hit Naba on the cheek with an elbow, causing him to fall rapidly. And Vegeta fell to the ground, raised his palm and waited for Bada to fall, and an air bomb directly pierced Bada's body. Bada was bounced up by the air bomb, and then fell to the ground and lost his breath of life. Ah! Son Gohan and Krillin stared dumbfounded. Vegeta is so vicious. After defeating the enemy, kill them. They all have only 1 breath left, why do they want to kill them all? Keelan gritted his teeth in puzzlement. Ah! Gith, who was still floating in the air, was speechless for a moment. He was so shocked that he couldn't believe what happened in front of him. It's impossible, we are the Ginyu team. The most powerful 5-member combination in the universe. How could they lose so badly? Vegeta put his eyes on Geese in midair, and Geese felt terrified for a moment. This is a nightmare, how can there be no power to fight back? Keith yelled, turned around and ran away quickly. Whoosh! Ah! Run away! Sun Wuhan was stunned. He thought that the opponent would continue to fight with great backbone. HMPH, do you want to run? Vegeta stretched out his hand, and a Qigong wave shot in the direction of Geese's escape. What? Geese's figure was instantly submerged by the Qigong wave, leaving no bones left. It's cruel, obviously they are all dying. Krillin felt a little resentful when he saw Vegeta's methods. HMPH. Vegeta snorted coldly. It seemed that only Captain Ginyu was left alive. After Sun Wukong left, Bulma, who was sitting in the spaceship, took a sip of the drink and continued to eat the bento with a knife and fork. She muttered dissatisfiedly, what are they doing? When will they be back? Really, staying in this kind of place for a long time will do a lot of damage to my skin. Bulma complained helplessly. Captain Ginyu folded his arms and looked at the 7 stones in front of him boredly, when his detector suddenly sounded. Beep beep. Who is someone flying over quickly? Only 5,000 combat power. Ginyu looked at the content displayed on the detector curiously and guessed. Could it be the remaining Namekians? Team Ginit, let's go. Ginyu was posing, and suddenly felt that he was the only one in the momentum and formation, and he was very lonely. Haven't those guys dealt with Vegeta and the others? Ginyu raised his body into the air dissatisfied. There is a strong aura approaching the Great Elder over there. Dandy saw the end of the battle and walked out from one end of the rock. That's Frieza, Vegeta exclaimed as soon as he sensed it. Dad hasn't come yet, Sun Wuhan said and went to sense. Keelan turned his head to look at Sun Wuhan in surprise. His aura matches another one. That's Frieza's spaceship. It looks like a really magical plot. Vegeta didn't even look at Gohan and Sun Gohan, and directly rushed towards the spaceship. Hey, wait for us. Klin saw it, and quickly pulled Dandy and Sun Gohan to chase Vegeta. Then what about the Great Elder? Dandy asked, looking up at Klin who was flying by him. Klin looked straight ahead and flew quickly. The Great Elder is dead. Even if Frieza asks, he won't be able to ask anything. Then Mr. Neil. Dandy prayed crazily in his heart, hoping that Neil would choose to leave when the Great Elder saw the end of his life. At this time, Frieza, who was flying rapidly, had already seen the place where the Great Elder lived. Hey, that's right there. Sun Wukong, who was flying in midair, suddenly paused. He looked at Ginyu who was standing in front of him and began to be on guard. It's not you from Namek, who is it? Ginyu looked at Sun Wukong with some doubts. How could this person appear on Namek? Combat power is not low, it is impossible to be a traveler in the universe. Sun Wukong noticed the detector worn by the person in front of him. Are you from Frieza? It's so offensive. Ginyu didn't care who the opponent was, and rushed to Monkey King, hitting him on the cheek with his elbow. Being attacked so suddenly, Sun Wukong was hit directly in a daze. Boom! Sun Wukong's body was beaten upside down, and Ginyu chased after him, wanting to attack again. Snapped. If you disagree with me, do it. Sun Wukong did several backflips and landed directly on the ground. Ginyu, who was catching up, flew behind Sun Wukong and slammed his knife at his neck. What? Crack! Sun Wukong glanced at his body quickly, avoiding Ginyu's blow, and kicked Ginyu's face with his back foot. Ginyu dodged with his head sideways. Bang bang bang. Clap clap. The two began to wrestle, and after probing for a while, they jumped backwards and fell to the ground at the same time. Sun Wukong reached out and rubbed his cheeks, and looked at Ginyu dissatisfied. You hit him really hard. Hee, good boy, you are very skilled, you really have some strength. It doesn't look like the 5,000 combat power measured by the detector. Ginyu said excitedly with his hands on his hips. Your combat power should be around 6, right? Who are you? I'm just an ordinary earthling. Sun Wukong put on a fighting posture, looking at Ginyu and thinking in his heart. Looks like we have to make a quick decision. He's wasted enough time. I don't know if Vegeta will hurt Krillin and Gohan. Do you have to fight? I'm still in a hurry. Monkey King asked tentatively. HMPH, you'd better stay and wait for King Frieza to come back to deal with you. Ginyu felt that this guy must be with Vegeta and the others. Well, it seems that I have to knock you down immediately. Monkey King was helpless. HMPH, it's crazy enough, it's the first time I've heard someone say such a thing to me. Ginyu looked at Monkey King disdainfully. Don't be arrogant, you will not be able to get up later. But how could a guy with a fighting power of around 6 be his opponent? My combat power can also be improved, Ginyu said as he diffused his chi, and stretched out his palms to Sun Wukong. Not good. Monkey King reacted instantly, and his body jumped up quickly. Boom! Ginyu laughed wildly, and a qigong wave was launched from his palm. This blow destroyed the world, and it was within the explosion range of a kilometer. All of a sudden, sand and rocks flew, and the wind howled. The leaping Monkey King quickly moved above Ginyu. He raised his legs and shot at him, but Ginyu easily dodged. Cha! Hey! Ginyu counterattacked and stretched out his hand in the next moment. Monkey King in front of him dodged quickly and by inertia, the other leg also hit Ginyu. Click! Ginyu bent his arms to resist, and the two moved quickly to fight on the ground. Ginyu jumped into the air first, and Sun Wukong followed closely behind and quickly surpassed Ginyu. Ginyu looked at Sun Wukong who passed him, secretly surprised. It's really fast, he's faster than me. An air bomb was fired from Ginyu's palm. Watching Sun Wukong avoid it easily, Ginyu said dissatisfiedly, you don't seem to have used your real skills yet. Do you still want to keep your preparations for a duel with King Frieza? Ginyu sneered, I think your combat power is about 8 at most. Hee, then you should take a closer look at your detector. Monkey King wiped off the blood from the corner of his mouth, and clenched his fist violently. Kaiwang fist. Ha 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 ha. Ginyu pursed his lips, watching the values on the detector jump wildly. He couldn't believe how powerful the kid in front of him was. It wasn't until the value started to jump to 9 that Ginyu's expression began to move, followed by disbelief, and finally exclaimed. 9, 10, 11. How is it possible that it is still improving? Sun Wukong was still releasing his chi, and red flames began to burn on his body. 112 million. 13. Ginyu felt like he was going crazy. It's still going up. Oh my god. 16. Impossible. 17-18 million. Ginyu's eyes widened, his jaw almost dropped in shock. Unbelievable, this is your real strength. Ginyu was already trembling from fright. My own combat power is only 12, and the opponent is actually stronger than myself. Who is this person? Are all people on Earth really so powerful? To be honest, my instant explosive power is even higher than this. Sun Wukong looked at Ginyu seriously. Oh, how is it possible? Ginyu had already begun to doubt his own life, and he didn't believe that all of this was true. So, you can't beat me at all, I don't want to waste my strength. Monkey King continued, you should get out of the way. What did you say? Are you serious? Ginyu was frightened again. How could there be such a person? Yes, I don't want to kill innocent people indiscriminately. Sun Wukong nodded, proving that he was not joking. Hee, you are stronger than me, much stronger. Under Monkey King's doubts, Ginyu suddenly curled his lips into a smile. At this time, Frieza also came to the Elder's house. Sure enough, there are still surviving Namekians. Frieza got off the aircraft and looked towards the house. The door of the house was suspended. Naru felt the evil aura, and when he went out, he saw Frieza. Who are you? I am Frieza, and I have been collecting Dragon Balls, hoping to fulfill my wish, but the Dragon Balls have turned into stones, as if they have been used by others. Frieza looked at Naru in front of him and asked, I'm here to ask you. What should I do to make the stone turn into a Dragon Ball again? Let's go. Evil people don't deserve to know about it. Naru impatiently drove Frieza away. You have to think about it, I have plenty of means. Frieza restrained the smile on the corner of his mouth in dissatisfaction. The elder who made the Dragon Ball is dead. No matter how much you ask, the result will be the same. Nailu snorted coldly, clenched his fist tightly. Grand Elder. Frieza was a little surprised. He turned his head to look at the window like a transparent cover on the house, and then he flew up in the air, and saw a huge Namek sitting on a chair. Seeing the great elder who had obviously lost his breath of life, Frieza turned his head to look at Naru. You don't seem to be lying. But this does not prove that what you said must be true. Frieza rejects this cruel reality offered by Naru. If the stone can no longer be restored to its Dragon Ball appearance, what about his wish of immortality? It's true. Neil, who was floating up, responded blankly. No, you must be hiding it and don't want to tell me. It seems that I must teach you a lesson. Frieza roared angrily. HMPH, I'll teach you to do it willingly and tell me the secret of Dragon Ball. I really don't know how to live or die. Frieza put his hands behind his back, and the veins on his forehead bulged. I must let you know when the time comes, and I regret not telling me sooner. Nailu clenched his fists angrily, and silently looked at the corpse of the great elder in the house. Then let's fight in another place. Having not guarded the great elder's last moment, Neil also had a depression in his heart that had nowhere to vent. Whoosh! The figures of the two flew far away, and then fell to the ground. Snapped. Naru took off his coat and threw it on the ground. Frieza sneered, I didn't expect that there are quite a lot of people looking for death. Hiss. Nailu was furious without saying a word. Oh, it's not that simple, the combat power is actually 4. Seeing the value displayed on the detector, Frieza felt a little surprised, and he put his hands on his hips and exclaimed in admiration. You are indeed different from other Namekians. You have a high combat effectiveness, and you are indeed a combat-type warrior. Tell you how much my combat power is. Think about it carefully. My combat power is 53, but you don't have to be afraid. If I fight with you, I won't use my full strength. Hearing Frieza's narration, Naru's forehead was instantly covered with cold sweat. How about this? How about I fight you with only my left hand? Frieza stretched out his hand and asked with a smile. Neil's forehead was bursting with veins. He gritted his teeth and rushed towards Frieza. Ah! Vegeta flew quickly, followed by Son Gohan and Krillin with Dandy. The first thing they saw was Frieza's spaceship, followed by Monkey King and Ginyu in midair. Why don't you do it? Sun Wukong asked puzzled. Because you are very powerful and your combat power far surpasses mine. Ginyu smiled. Sun Wukong was even more puzzled. Then why are you laughing? Isn't it time to give up the fight or simply admit defeat? He is obviously stronger than him, why is he still laughing? Hey. Ginyu stared at Monkey King with a strange smile, and took down the detector he was carrying. Aha! Then he slammed his right hand into his abdomen, seriously injuring himself, bleeding from his abdomen, and Monkey King was surprised to see it. What is this for? I like that strong body of yours very much. Blood gushed from the corner of Ginyu's mouth, and he was still smiling all over his face, as if he didn't feel any pain at all. What? I like my body. Sun Wukong felt chills instantly. Change. Ginyu suddenly stretched his hands and shouted loudly. Hee. The fast-flying Vegeta flew directly across the grass on the ground, grabbed an alien frog, and headed towards the light emitted by Ginyu. What's the matter? Keelan and Sun Wuhan slammed on the brakes and looked at the bunch that landed on the little frog and disappeared. With a click, the little frog fell to the ground. Ginyu, who was seriously injured, still had a grin on his face. His eyes widened, he put away his smile in a daze, and then put his hands on the ground. Snapped. With a kick on his hind legs, Ginyu jumped and fled away at high speed. PFF'd. Ha ha ha. Vegeta laughed while holding his stomach, watching Monkey King and the other four with dumbfounded faces. What are you laughing at? What's going on with that guy? Sun Wukong looked at Vegeta and asked in a daze. HMPH, you have to thank me for saving you, otherwise your body will be taken by Ginyu. Vegeta snorted coldly, and walked towards the frog that was still there. Huh, Sun Wukong and Keelan looked at each other. Hey, watch me crush you. Vegeta put his hands on his hips and stepped on the little frog. Crack, cack, the little frog yelled and dodged. Forget it, Vegeta, he has become like this, he will definitely not be able to do bad things. Sun Wukong looked at the little frog, always feeling very weird. TCH, the benevolence of a woman. Vegeta snorted dissatisfiedly, disregarding Sun Wukong's opinion, and stomped the little frog Ginyu. The system is released, the mission of the host to defeat the Ginyu team is completed, and the bloodline of Super Saiyan 1 is activated to 95% as a reward. Update information, the host Vegeta, the combat power is 58, the pure Saiyan blood is 100%, and the Super Saiyan 1 has activated 95%. Seeing that you are still useful, I will not kill you for now. Vegeta put his hands on his hips, and then flew towards Frieza's spaceship alone without looking at the rest of Monkey King. The people behind also followed, watching Vegeta take off his clothes and take out a towel. What are you looking at? Go and change into your combat uniforms. Even though Vegeta felt that he would not be shy, it was still very awkward to be stared at by others like this. Is that the one you're wearing? Krillin asked, pointing to Vegeta's hazmat suit on the ground. It doesn't look like much either, Sun Wuhan said with some disgust. Monkey King nodded. Although his coat was torn and his lower body was cut several times, I still prefer my own clothes. Looking at the internal structure of the spaceship, Kling said to Monkey King, their civilization seems to be more advanced than the Earth. Huh, how did you see that? Sun Wukong asked puzzled. Sun Wuhan on the side wanted to nod, but suddenly froze. Take off your clothes and put on this set. Vegeta quickly threw the tights on the ground with the body shape of the three of them. Hurry up, don't dawdle, Frieza will be back later. Vegeta wiped the dust off his body with a towel, opened the place where the protective clothing was placed, and snorted coldly, HMPH, only the old models can be worn. Vegeta put on new gloves for himself, looked at Monkey King and the other three as they changed into tights, and Krillin was still thinking about it. Unexpectedly, you still need our help. It seems that Frieza is very difficult to mess with. Dad, I'm a little nervous. Sun Wuhan said so, but he didn't slow down the movement of putting on clothes. HMPH, do I care about your help? Don't think that if I don't kill you, you have to think that I am kind. Seeing that they were almost dressed, Vegeta took out the protective clothing. Put on the protective clothing again, fortunately there are dwarfs among them. Vegeta looked at Krillin and Son Gohan. Sun Wukong looked at the protective suit dissatisfied, and muttered, this suit is too small, how can I wear it in? It can be stretched, and the elasticity is very good. Vegeta explained impatiently. Ha, Sun Wuhan pulled lightly, and the protective clothing was stretched and enlarged, really, it's great. Are the gloves and shoes also made of this material? Keelan asked after putting his head under his clothes. Okay, it's so light, you can hardly feel the weight. Keelan, who was dressed, quickly sighed, I didn't expect you to have such good things. But why yours, like Monkey King, seem to be more conducive to shoulder movement? Keelan touched the waistcoat on his shoulders and said dissatisfied. Vegeta folded his hands on his chest, expressionless, I'm old-fashioned, not your size. Uncle Klin, the movement of the shoulders is not restricted. Son Gohan, who didn't understand Klin's aesthetics, raised his arms and felt the fragility of the protective clothing, and hurriedly said. Sun Wukong frowned awkwardly in the mirror. His own clothes still looked good, but the clothes were on Bulma's spaceship, so it was very troublesome to go back and forth. On the other side, Nai Lu, who was full of scars all over his body, was hunchbacked and gasping for breath, hoo-hoo. Hoo-hoo. Don't waste your efforts anymore, your right hand is useless, how can you win? Tell me how to restore the stone to Dragon Ball. With his right hand behind his back, Frieza spoke indifferently. Aha! Neil raised his left hand, and a Qigong wave shot towards Frieza in front of him. The smoke and dust billowed, but Frieza was unscathed. Is this your last effort? As the smoke cleared away, Frieza also lost his patience, and asked the shocked Naru. I just can't figure it out. Why don't you give up when there is a dead end? After Frieza's words fell, his figure moved quickly. Chuck, chuck. The next moment, Frieza appeared in front of Neil. He raised his left hand, and hit Neil behind him. Ah! I'll warn you one last time, hurry up and tell me how to restore Dragon Ball, otherwise, I'll be rude. Frieza's words were icy cold. HMPH, as I said before, with the death of the Great Elder, the Dragon Ball will lose its proper function. Lying on the ground, Nailu's face was covered with blood, his eyes were blank, and he murmured, kill me, I should go down and stay with the Great Elder, it's all because of you. It hurt him that he couldn't guard the Great Elder's last moment, these outsiders. Hee, I want to die. Frieza suddenly burst out laughing when he heard this, then let you be half dead. Beep. Frieza's detector suddenly made a sound, and he looked, huh. Where are the people from Team Ginyu? Could it be wiped out? Frieza quickly took off and flew towards the spaceship, regardless of the lingering Naru on the ground. Vegeta, and the Earthlings, actually snatched my Dragon Ball to fulfill my wish, I want to kill them. Ah, it seems that someone is flying towards this side quickly. Sun Wuhan stood under the Frieza spaceship and said something to Dandy. He turned his head and suddenly yelled. Really? Krillin also turned his head and sensed, it's Frieza. Frieza had to believe what the last Namek he saw told him. Dragon Ball really doesn't work anymore. He was so angry that he flew fast, and he wanted to pay a heavy price for Vegeta and the people on Earth who had fulfilled his wish. Originally, the Dragon Ball was his. In an instant, Frieza had reached the sky above the spaceship, and he landed on a rock. Ah! Seeing Frieza, Krillin was stunned by the powerful aura. Frieza, Gohan and Krillin looked at Frieza in front of them, their pupils dilated, and they were extremely shocked. Gohan, do you feel it? Keelan glanced at Sun Wuhan. His face was pale at the moment, not much better than himself. Sun Wuhan nodded slightly subconsciously. Well, his power seems to be extremely powerful. As if he sees it, he will never be able to get rid of it. Keelan clenched his trembling fists. Chapter 51. Frieza looked at Vegeta and Son Goku who came out of the spaceship and said angrily, you guys are so daring to make my dream of immortality come to naught. Frieza looked down at the 5 people below, and slowly calmed down, scorning them as if he was looking at a dead person. The 5 members of the Ginyu team didn't respond at all. No matter what method you use, it's a bit beyond my expectation. It's really the first time to be teased by idiots like you. Frieza said as he jumped off the top of the rock and stood in front of everyone. Despair. Everyone looked at Frieza warily. I really didn't expect it to be like this. Frieza thought and felt anger filling his heart. He clenched his teeth and clenched his fists and roared at the few people in front of him. You inferior creatures, I can't spare you. I want to tear your corpses into pieces to vent my hatred. Looking at the angry Frieza, Dandy quickly slipped away to hide under the rocks in the distance. Sun Wuhan and Krillin also retreated very carelessly to distance themselves from Frieza. No one can escape, except your fate. Frieza was angry. Hee, you've finally shown your fierce face. Vegeta clenched his hands into fists, with cold sweat on his forehead, gritted his teeth and looked at Frieza. Don't underestimate me. If you have the guts, let your horse come here. Vegeta said so, but his heart was screaming and calling the system, when will this 5% mission be released? Although I can beat Frieza now, but that is only limited to Frieza's first form. There was no response from the system, and Vegeta was furious. Haha, the tone is not small. Have you forgotten how strong I am? Let me help you restore your memory. Frieza said, crossing his hands in front of him, looking at Vegeta. What? Frieza diffused his aura, and that powerful aura put everyone present under great pressure, with cold sweat on their foreheads. Ah! Sun Wuhan felt the ground tremble and exclaimed. Wow, he's so powerful. Keelan also had a disheveled look on his face. Vegeta gritted his teeth and stared at Frieza. Although his current combat power can defeat Frieza, but if Frieza is angered, he will change into another form. What should I do? Krillin, Gohan, stand back, this is no longer a battle that you can participate in. Sun Wukong looked serious, and reminded the two of them from the corner of his eye. Whoosh. And Piccolo, who was about to arrive on the road, felt the aura in surprise. The aura is getting stronger and stronger. Could it be that Frieza has already made a move? Ha, Piccolo paused, and he looked to the ground. Who is that faint breath? Despair. He fell to the ground, looked at Naru who was lying on the ground and couldn't move, secretly surprised. It looks exactly like me. Namek. After a discussion between the two, Piccolo and Naru assimilated. Ha, ha, Piccolo felt the powerful aura of his body, looked at his hands in a daze, and shouted excitedly, the power has become so strong. It's incredible. Is this the result of assimilation? With such a powerful force, no matter who the opponent is, I will definitely win. Piccolo smiled confidently. Ha ha ha, Piccolo laughed and went on the road again, much faster than before. Krillin and Son Gohan backed away tremblingly. Frieza's aura had made them lose their courage to fight in fear. It's so terrifying. I'm lost. Keelan was so frightened that his words trembled. Of course, how many of you little ants can win against dinosaurs? Frieza spoke wildly. We can win. Kakarot. Vegeta glanced at Monkey King who was also vigilant from the corner of his eye. Kakarot, it's the name of a Saiyan. Frieza noticed Monkey King, and his first reaction was, this kid looks familiar. Ah, Frieza remembered that the Saiyan who had resisted until the end when he destroyed planet Vegeta looked exactly like the guy in front of him. HMPH, I'm going to kill all of your Saiyans. Frieza looked at Monkey King. Huh, what? Monkey King glanced at Vegeta. Does Vegeta have any good ideas? If we join hands, maybe we can win. Vegeta clenched his fists tightly, staring at Frieza all the time. Ha ha ha. Hearing Vegeta's words, Frieza covered his mouth and kept laughing as if he had heard some very funny joke. It's fantastic. Vegeta clenched his fists again, and he smiled confidently at Frieza. I'm gradually becoming the Super Saiyan you fear. Super Saiyan, Sun Wukong said with some doubts. It was the first time he heard this word. What is a Super Saiyan? Frieza's heart trembled instinctively, and then he said with a smile, you don't feel ashamed to brag, you will become a Super Saiyan. They're all nasty guys, Frieza said, stepping a little bit, and swooped towards Vegeta and punched away. Snapped. Vegeta grabbed Frieza's hand. The powerful force caused the veins on Frieza's forehead to explode. He gritted his molars and resisted. Ah! With 5 more combat power than Frieza, defeating Frieza is naturally extremely easy. But the difficulty lies in Frieza's transformation. Seeing that Vegeta was able to clamp his wrist, Frieza was dissatisfied and punched Vegeta's fingers again. What? The two were furious. Frieza looked at the non-stop ringing of the detector, and Vegeta's combat power on the opposite side was rising crazily. Beep beep. How? Frieza was surprised. Snapped. If the value exceeds the upper limit of the detector, it explodes. Frieza was secretly surprised. He quickly let go, and the two of them backed away to create a distance. Despair. Phew. Vegeta let out a breath. Although he seemed to have the upper hand in the first confrontation, he felt that Frieza would transform. Well, it seems you're not bragging, Frieza said appreciatively. Seeing that Vegeta was able to resist Frieza all by himself, Son Gohan thought to himself, maybe Vegeta might win without his father joining hands with Vegeta. Did Vegeta push his limits? But Frieza still looks so calm. Sun Wukong looked at Vegeta's battle just now, and put his eyes on Frieza with a serious expression. Frieza definitely has more than his current combat power, and definitely has some back moves. Vegeta, you really surprised me, so let me show you my true face. Frieza felt that his superiority had been insulted. Vegeta actually has such a powerful combat power. True face. Son Goku looked at Vegeta puzzled. What is it? Keelan also looked at a loss. It's transformation. Aliens will change their appearance according to the situation. The usual form is to reduce the loss of physical strength and energy. Vegeta glanced at Sun Wukong and the 3 ignorant people from the corner of his eye, explaining indifferently. But I'm different, because I'm so powerful that I can't even control myself. Frieza pointed to himself, talking about his own difference. HMPH, this is a rare good opportunity. I didn't transform when I attacked the Saiyan planet Vegeta and confronted the king. Vegeta, your father is very ordinary. Vegeta pursed his lips and didn't speak. He didn't know what to say. The current Frieza's combat power is lower than his own, but if he transforms the second form, 100 million combat power. Akira Toriyama's settings are really broken. Let's not talk about everyone's combat effectiveness at the beginning, but in the later stage, with Frieza's transformation and change of form, the combat effectiveness has obviously begun to collapse. Directly from hundreds of thousands to millions to hundreds of millions. Really? How can he fight the 100 million Frieza? At this time, Vegeta thought of the system belatedly. If he wanted to become stronger by himself, he couldn't keep up with the progress of the Dragon Ball world's combat power. But this system, it doesn't make a sound at this time, is it going to watch itself die? HMPH, what are you proud of? When I was a child, I had the power to surpass the king. Vegeta snorted coldly. What can I say about Vegeta 3? Did Saiyan's planet be destroyed by him? Keelan immediately thought of Monkey King's hometown after hearing this. What? Frieza clenched his fist and shattered the protective suit on his body. This action scared Son Gohan into a shudder. Did you break your combat coat? Kling looked at the scattered fragments around Frieza, feeling horrified. Could it be that he was about to transform? Taking off the coat is called transformation. Sun Wukong stared blankly, and Frieza's aura didn't change much. Click, click, ha. Frieza's whole body was trembling slightly, and as he shouted loudly, the aura on his body began to become stronger and stronger. Immediately after everyone was shocked, his upper body suddenly swelled and became larger, followed by his limbs, pulling his neck as Frieza tried hard. Drink Frieza's second form. At this time, his height has directly increased from more than 1 meter to about 2 meters, and his figure has become even more burly. Everyone felt his twice as powerful fighting power, and their bodies were trembling. Yeah, Vegeta suddenly had the same sense of déjà vu in his previous life when he faced the opponent driving a tank with his bare hands to crush him. Sun Wukong frowned. The opponent's fighting power has indeed become much stronger. Ruined. A nightmare. Keelan and Sun Wuhan had already started to tremble. It's hard for me to control such a powerful force. Frieza looked at the people who were stunned by him, and continued to drop the news of the explosion. One more thing, my current combat power is over 100 million. Vegeta gritted his teeth angrily, he knew it. Don't ask Frieza to remind me. Snapped. Frieza stretched out his hand and raised his violent energy suddenly, and everyone was directly blown away by his powerful energy. What? Dandy! Clint yelled worriedly. At this time, with Frieza as the center, the explosion directly exploded in a radius of 10,000 miles, and the land disappeared in an instant, and the seawater poured back, submerging this depression. Bang bang bang. Everyone was suspended in midair in embarrassment, watching the gravel splash and fall into the sea. Well, Vegeta quickly stabilized his figure. Sun Wukong hugged Son Gohan and stabilized his figure on the side of Vegeta. Son Gohan poked his head out and looked around. Uncle Krillin. Dandy. Here. The next moment came Klin's weak voice from behind Monkey King. HMPH. It's pretty quick to escape. At this moment, there was raging seawater all around, and only Frieza was standing on the ground with his hands on his hips, looking at the few people in midair. This is just a meeting ceremony. Now, you should understand, my strength is beyond your imagination. Frieza said to himself, turning his gaze back and forth on several people. Hey, which one should I clean up first? Then you. Watching Frieza take off into the sky, everyone was overwhelmed by his speed, it was too fast. In the blink of an eye, Frieza had already appeared in front of everyone, and one of the horns on top of his head had been inserted into Krillin's left abdomen. Dandy, who was released, fell and exclaimed. Klin. Sun Wukong looked over angrily, it's too fast. Uncle Kling. Klin's body pierced by Frieza's horn was trembling, and the pain made him unable to help but exhale. I'm really sorry, such a powerful force, even I can't control myself. Frieza apologized without sincerity, extremely hypocritical. Snapped. Immediately afterwards, Frieza shook his head and sent Klin's body flying, and Klin's body fell straight into the sea. PFF'd. Klin. Sun Wukong hurriedly flew towards the side where Klin fell. Crack. The next moment, Seeing Frieza appearing in front of him, Monkey King braked suddenly. You want to save someone? I'm afraid it's too late. Frieza looked at Monkey King jokingly, I think it's better to take care of yourself. Ha! Sun Wukong looked at Frieza who was standing in front of him, and kicked him in the cheek without thinking. Snapped. Frieza rubbed his cheek and did a backflip, distanced himself from Monkey King, and he suddenly smiled, haha. Shish. Frieza pointed a finger at Monkey King. Oops, get out of here, Kakarot. Vegeta yelled hurriedly when he saw this. Frieza smiled, and his index finger gathered energy to emit a red laser beam at a very fast speed. He looked at Monkey King with contempt, arrogant. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Several laser beams went towards Sun Wukong, and Monkey King interlaced his hands, knocking all the laser beams that were shooting towards him into the air. Shish, how come? You can block it with your hands. Frieza was slightly surprised. Vegeta was also secretly surprised when he saw it. Unexpectedly, Kakarot is still so powerful. How much is his combat power now? Are you afraid that you are taller than yourself? This fool is progressing so fast. Obviously never fought. HMPH, you. Sun Wukong watched Frieza throw his own punch directly. Watching Frieza catch his fist with his elbow, Sun Wukong raised his foot and kicked it. Frieza turned his head to avoid it. Whizzing. Sun Wukong punched again and was dodged by Frieza. Watching Frieza kicking towards him with his long legs, Monkey King backed away quickly to open the distance between them. Frieza fired beams from his eyes and shot at Goku who was backing away. Whoosh! The figure of Monkey King dodges quickly, and then disappears from Frieza's sight. The next moment Monkey King appears above Frieza's back, he slashes at him with a knife. Crack! Snapped. Out of the corner of the eye, he saw Monkey King's attack, and Frieza quickly disappeared, waiting for Monkey King to stabilize behind him. He saw Frieza flying out of the sea jump into the air, launching Qigong waves at himself. Sun Wukong hastily stretched out his hands to catch the Kibo Gong. Following the inertia of the Qigong wave, he kept going backwards, rubbing his heels against the ground, making 2 long scratches. Drink. Monkey King gritted his teeth and tried to stabilize his figure, but he was still quickly forced back by this powerful force. Aha! It wasn't until he crashed into the mountain and backed up and split the mountain in 2 that he was able to catch Frieza's Qigong wave. Sun Wukong lifted the Qigong wave and threw it into the sky. It's so hot, it hurts. Sun Wukong kept blowing into his palm, and the gravel around him rolled down. Everyone looked at Monkey King's reaction inexplicably. I'm really surprised, your strength seems to be much stronger than Vegeta. Frieza crossed his arms and looked at Monkey King, but you can't beat me. Really, how do you know if you don't fight? Sun Wukong held his fists and looked at Frieza. When King Kai reminded himself, he wanted to fight Frieza. So excited, Uncle Klin. Sun Wukong heard Sun Wufan's cry, turned his head and saw Dandy pulling Klin up in the sea. It's okay, he's not dead. Dandy yelled at Sun Wuhan. And Piccolo, who was still on his way, gritted his teeth and flew fast. Gohan, hold on, I'm coming. HMPH, the tone is not small, okay. Frieza stared, and the ground where Monkey King was standing exploded. Swish. Monkey King's figure appeared above Frieza at this moment. He looked at Frieza who was looking up at him, attack. Sun Wukong also stared at him, and Frieza was directly thrown into the sea by the shock. Frieza was about to fall into the sea, but his figure disappeared the next moment. He actually escaped my attack, Sun Wukong said and quickly turned his head to look behind him. Frieza had already raised his leg and kicked him. Monkey King was kicked and fell into the sea directly. The inertia brought by the huge impact made the seawater form a circle, and the seawater kept rotating and surging. Cuckoo. Good. It hurts. Sun Wukong fell quickly in the seawater. He stabilized his body, folded his hands on his chest and held his breath while thinking. Come up quickly, this blow won't hurt you. Frieza, who was standing in midair, looked towards the sea and said. Sun Wukong quickly thought of a strategy. Frieza didn't seem to judge the opponent's position by his breath, but only by his eyes. Vegeta, who was watching the battle in midair, clenched his fists, and he appealed to the system in his heart. When will the last mission be released to me? It's 95%, can't I give it to a Super Saiyan? Mimic. Super Saiyan can be activated 100%, there is no mimicry. The words of the system made Vegeta depressed. Why don't you come up? Could it be that you're scared? Frieza looked at the calm sea, mocking. Get ready, strike. Sun Wukong raised his right hand, and an air bomb flew straight out of the sea. Seeing the movement on the sea, Frieza instinctively chased after him, and passed by. It's not him. Over here. Frieza saw the movement on the surface of the sea, and he stretched out his hand to attack, but another air bomb swayed towards the surface of the sea. Frieza barely evaded the bullet. That's not it either. Ha! Sun Wukong kicked Frieza's back with his legs straight. Boom! Snapped. The defenseless Frieza was kicked and crashed directly into a huge mountain. He pierced through the mountain and traveled a long way, getting a deep scratch along the way. Wow! Sun Wukong sighed with emotion. It's amazing. Keelan, who was lying on the ground and being healed by Dandy, sighed while looking at the direction of the battle. Success! Sun Wukong said happily. Vegeta gritted his teeth and watched Frieza being knocked into the air. Sure enough, Kakarot is stronger than him now. He practiced so hard. What went wrong? Hiss. Frieza stood up from the pile of rubble, bending over and twisting his neck. Giggle. Ha! Cold sweat dripped down on Sun Wukong's forehead. Frieza was unscathed. Frieza shook the dust on his body. I really didn't expect you to be so powerful. Apart from my parents, you are the first person to dirty me. This is the first time in my life that I am so excited. How can I deal with you? Frieza put his eyes on Monkey King. Oops. Cold sweat dripped down Monkey King's forehead even more. Could Frieza still become stronger? It seems that I want to exercise seriously. Frieza stretched out his hands and looked at Monkey King. HMPH, Wukong, it seems that you are also quite helpless. Piccolo has arrived. He is hovering in the air, his cloak fluttering with the wind. Uncle Piccolo, we've been waiting for you. Seeing Piccolo, Son Gohan was obviously very happy. Is that guy Frieza? He looks really skilled. Piccolo looked at Frieza in the distance with his arms crossed. Oh, I thought who it was. Vegeta snorted coldly, but he gritted his teeth angrily in his heart. This guy Piccolo has also become much stronger. Piccolo turned his attention to Frieza, but said to Vegeta. After I finish Frieza, I'll deal with you again, and settle the score on Earth. Wukong, let me do it. Piccolo shouted at Monkey King's back. Ah Piccolo, can you? Keelan looked at Piccolo nervously. Bick, you're resurrected. Sun Wukong turned his head to look at Piccolo, and greeted him with his hand. Frieza looked at Piccolo. There are still living Namekians, it feels a little different. Wukong, replace me, I can handle it all by myself. Everyone was surprised when they heard Piccolo's extremely arrogant words. Frieza laughed loudly. You guys, do you really think that's all I can do? Huh. Monkey King retreated and looked at Frieza. I want despair to occupy your hearts and feel helpless despair. Frieza put his hands on his hips and stretched out 2 fingers. Every time I transform once, my strength will increase greatly and I can transform twice. What? Sun Wukong exclaimed. Ah, what did he say? Keelan, distracted for a moment, looked at Sun Wukong next to him in confusion. Sun Gohan opened his mouth wide and his whole body was trembling. Frieza said there are still 2 chances to transform. Keelan's pupils shrank sharply, his face pale. You should be honored. You are the first to see my transformation. Frieza laughed loudly. Let me show you my transformation in the second stage of Frieza. This is the second transformation, the third form. Ah! Frieza roared loudly, his head elongated, tentacles grew out, his muscles swelled further, tentacles protruded from his back, and his figure began to develop horizontally, becoming even uglier. Click. We've been waiting for a long time, let's start a new round of competition. Then who will go first? Frieza turned his attention to Piccolo and Monkey King and glanced back and forth. Piccolo felt Frieza's aura much stronger than his own, secretly surprised, this monster. Son Gohan and Krillin trembled. Vegeta almost gnawed his back molars. Frieza is an idiot, his current combat power must have reached more than 200 million. But I was still watching helplessly at about 50 yuan, powerless. It doesn't look like it's different. Krillin only had 2 to 3 combat power, and he couldn't feel that Frieza had become so terrifying. No, his potential power has been greatly enhanced, completely different from before. Sun Wukong clenched his fists and watched Frieza nervously. He's very calm now. Vegeta's forehead was dripping with cold sweat. And all his original injuries have healed. Sun Wukong also pursed his lips tightly, his words trembling. Piccolo took off the cloak on his body. Frieza looked at it and sneered, take off the heavy coat and plan to go into battle easily. But, you can beat me, Frieza said as he jumped up and rushed towards Piccolo. This speed was so fast that Piccolo retreated quickly, and the two moved at high speed in midair, chasing each other. HMPH, for speed, you can't catch up with me, Piccolo said proudly. Then he suddenly widened his eyes, looked ahead in disbelief, and slammed on the brakes. How come? I saw Frieza hanging in front of Piccolo with his arms folded. Hello. We meet again. Drink. Frieza stretched out and used 2 fingers to send out double death beams to hit Piccolo's left knee. As Piccolo's pants ruptured at his knees, flesh spattered and blood flowed, Piccolo screamed, ah. Drink. Frieza was about to attack for the second time, and Piccolo wanted to dodge, but Frieza was faster, and the second double death beam had already hit Piccolo's chest. Bang bang bang. Wow ah ah. Hearing Piccolo's screams, Frieza laughed wildly, and continuously emitted double death beams with both hands. Piccolo seemed to be hit by countless bullets, his body was splashed with flesh, and he was instantly smashed into a sieve. It's just powerless to fight back. Keelan was dumbfounded, and cold sweat had already wet his back. Vegeta gritted his teeth, this is handsome for less than 3 seconds. Stop. Monkey King quickly flew towards Piccolo, trying to stop Frieza. Uncle Piccolo. Son Gohan followed closely behind. Gohan. Krillin anxiously wanted to go forward and chase after him. The system issued a task, the host needs to let Klin beat himself seriously. The task is completed and the blood of Super Saiyan 1 is activated to 100%. Here we come. When Vegeta heard this, he caught Krillin who was about to fly away. He no longer cares why the system issued such a task, as long as he can activate the Super Saiyan. That's 50 times the fighting power. Snapped. What do you want? Krillin turned his head and shouted anxiously at Vegeta. You, beat me to a serious injury immediately. Vegeta's tone was completely commanding, as long as he completes this last task, he can become a Super Saiyan. If you can defeat Frieza, then the audience will be full of rubbish. Piccolo was still being tortured by Frieza, and Monkey King rushed to kick Frieza quickly. Aha! Swish! Seeing Sun Wukong's kick, Frieza jumped to dodge easily, and Sun Wukong also supported the falling Piccolo. You! Sun Wukong looked at him angrily, and then his whole body was ignited with fiery flames. Curdle Pai Chi! Sun Wukong put his hands on his waist. Achievement! A huge energy wave hit Frieza, pressing on Frieza's body. Frieza resisted with difficulty. Wow! Drink ah ah! Sun Wukong tried hard, trying to kill Frieza with one blow, ah! Bang bang! Frieza was suppressed and fell straight down, soon to be pressed to the ground, and the energy wave rolled up smoke. Come on, Wukong! Keelan stretched out his hand to resist the flying smoke, and shouted to cheer up Monkey King. Ha ah ah! Just when Sun Wukong hugged Piccolo and felt that Sun Wukong was about to succeed, the situation took a turn for the worse, and Frieza kicked Kamehameha Qigong back with both hands and feet. Ah! Sun Wukong yelled, dodging the Kamehameha Qigong flying towards him, panting with difficulty and looking at Frieza. Hoo-hoo! Hey, you actually have such a strong power. Frieza trembled slightly. He had just blocked the attack and had already exerted all his strength. The Kamehameha Qigong has been blocked. Sun Wukong showed distress. Saiyans, it seems that all of them must be eliminated. You will not be given a chance to become a Super Saiyan. Frieza looked at his trembling hands, gritted his teeth and said, if this is the case, then I will finally transform into my true form. This is your honor. Hearing this, Vegeta grabbed Klin's collar. Don't you know the characteristics of Saiyans? Every time a Saiyan escapes the doom of death, their combat power will greatly increase. Hurry up and beat me seriously, it's useless to beat yourself up, bald boy speed. Vegeta yelled at Krillin, and with just one hit, he could transform into a Super Saiyan, a surefire deal. Furthermore, he has an immortal body. Although he doesn't know the extent of this immortality. After he becomes a Super Saiyan, kill Frieza first, and avenge those Saiyans that Vegeta always thinks about dying. From now on, he is no longer the second child of 10,000 years. Seeing Frieza, who was standing on the ground, start to change his final form violently again, Krillin pursed his lips and directly fired an air bomb at Vegeta, who was urging him. Hurry up. Under Vegeta's anxious urging, his chest was directly pierced. Won't you say hello first? Huh. Sun Wukong noticed Krillin's anger and turned his head in surprise. Dandy, who was hiding at the foot of the mountain, was even more stunned. What is this for? Why did Krillin suddenly attack Vegeta? Is it really good to pick the inner bar at this time? Ha ha ha, I'm going to become a Super Saiyan soon. Vegeta laughed loudly, spitting out blood. His body fell to the ground, and the voice of the system sounded in his mind. The system task. The host asked Klin to beat himself into a serious injury. The task is completed. Reward Super Saiyan 1 bloodline activated to 100%. The host can transform into a Super Saiyan form at any time. Wow ah ah. And Frieza was also furious, his bones cracked, and he quickly transformed into his final form. Ah, why did Uncle Krillin hit Vegeta? Son Gohan was full of doubts and incomprehension. Gohan, let's get out of here quickly, Piccolo said with difficulty, and he was a little moved with emotion. Hey, you guys have worked so hard to get together the Dragon Balls to bring me back to life, but I may not be able to help. Sun Wukong moved Piccolo with difficulty. Don't worry, Uncle Piccolo, Dandy will cure you. What are you? Dandy turned pale with fright as he watched Vegeta walking towards him tremblingly, clutching a big hole in his chest. Hurry up, save me. Vegeta's eyes turned black, and he said anxiously. He originally thought that if the Super Saiyan's fighting power is not enough later, then let the bald boy hit him a few more times, but it really hurts. Oh, looking at Vegeta, who fell to the ground, Dandy hurried forward. I don't know what the hell that Vegeta guy is doing. He suddenly asked me to hurt him, as if saying that Saiyans will become stronger after they are resurrected from the dead. Dandy. Seeing Dandy, who was healing Vegeta, Son Gohan shouted quickly, please treat Uncle Piccolo too. Suddenly, a powerful arrogance burst out from where Frieza was, as powerful as the scorching sun in summer. What happened to Dad? Sun Wukong gritted his teeth and clenched his fist angrily. Krillin also had a look of fear on his face. Monster, this is simply a monster, it's so powerful and terrifying. Sun Wukong also looked at Frieza, who had become stronger again, and took out a fairy bean and stuffed it into his mouth. He looked at it, and there were only 2 left. Frieza stretched out his finger, and the death beam flashed quickly. He just saw that it was the little Namek who saved Vegeta and Piccolo. Piccolo, Sun Wukong, and Klin Chi-Chi, who had just stood up, turned their heads and saw Dandy laying on the ground with smoke all over his body, and he was out of breath. Dandy, I only saw a flash of light and didn't see him make a move at all. Piccolo shouted angrily. Now, you can never recover from your injuries. He killed Dandy. Sun Wukong clenched his fists tightly. He must have found that Dandy can heal us, so, Piccolo gritted his teeth angrily. Frieza snorted disdainfully, and he turned to look at Monkey King, who was chasing after him to save him. I'm tired of fighting like this. It's time for the outcome to be announced. I'll give you a chance. Are you willing to serve me? It's a pity to destroy you. You should be better than Vegeta and even Captain Ginyu. Dream, how could I accept it? Sun Wukong failed to save Dandy, and at this moment he looked at Frieza with resentment, and refused without any consideration. Saiyans are really stubborn by nature, then you will only die. Frieza looked at Monkey King coldly. It's not that easy to kill me. Sun Wukong didn't show weakness. Ha ha ha, Frieza folded his arms and sneered, HMPH. I can turn you into the dust of the universe with only half of my skill. Seeing the 2 people who were only talking but not doing anything for a long time, Krillin was confused. What's the matter? They haven't made a move for so long. Sun Wukong and Piccolo lying on the ground were speechless. They are waiting for the right moment. Sun Wukong turned to look at Sun Wukong. Piccolo uttered weakly, it's really abominable, this fierce momentum has shocked us bystanders. Daddy will definitely win. Sun Wukong clenched his fists, as if reassuring himself. It's hard to say that we can't imagine their realm at all. Piccolo really directly pierced Sun Wukong's hope. The 2 looked at each other. Sun Wukong was a little surprised. Frieza was standing there casually at this moment, such a little thought distracted Sun Wukong. Frieza quickly moved in front of Monkey King in an instant, and hit his jaw with an elbow, and Monkey King's retreating figure quickly stabilized. Yeah, a trace of blood spilled from the corner of Sun Wukong's mouth. He looked at Frieza, who was still standing still and was a little speechless. Pretend to be a good bee. Frieza glanced at Monkey King from the corner of his eye, and the corner of his mouth curled up. The next moment, he swept his legs and attacked Monkey King, who quickly avoided it. But he was still hooked by Frieza's tail. His neck was getting tighter and tighter. Snapped. Frieza didn't hold back either, and hit Monkey King on the chest with his elbow again. Monkey King screamed, and he opened his mouth wide and bit Frieza's tail firmly. Frieza felt the pain, stroked his tail, and looked at Monkey King angrily. But Sun Wukong had already reached his back with his fist waving. Frieza shifted his center of gravity to the right without looking, raised his leg and kicked Sun Wukong back in the face. Monkey King was kicked and flew upside down, smashing through the mountain and drawing a deep mark on the ground. Woo! Hoo! 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 It seems that you can't hold it anymore. Frieza mocked. Keelan opened his mouth, not knowing what to say. Their strengths are too far apart. Piccolo turned his head and looked at the direction of the battle with difficulty. Oh my god, I didn't expect it. The King of Kai, who was also paying attention to the battle at the moment, gradually became trembling. Frieza is so powerful. Don't worry, Wukong will win. Tianjin Fan crossed his arms, vowing, don't forget the Kaio fist. Now Wukong can withstand 10 times the Kaio fist. Yes, Yamcha nodded, clenched his fists without any worry. Unfortunately, Kaio's face was extremely ugly, and he said something that surprised everyone. He has been using 10 times the Kaio fist. What? Everyone seemed to be hit by a bolt from the blue. That's why I warned him a long time ago. Don't fight Frieza. The current Frieza hasn't even used half of his strength. The King of Kai's forehead was covered with cold sweat. This universe is over. Click. Monkey King was hit by Frieza's elbow again, and his body flew upside down. Boom. Monkey King struggled to stand up, but Frieza smiled, his finger lit up a red light beam, and waved at the place where Monkey King was. Monkey King turned pale with fright. He quickly protected his face and jumped to avoid it. The gravel splashed, and waited until Monkey King let go of his hand to have a look. On the ground is a slender Lugo that cannot be seen at a glance, and the seawater in the distance is constantly flowing into this deep ditch. Sun Wukong was astonished. What a powerful move. I told you earlier that I can destroy this planet, and I am the one who destroys planet Vegeta, Frieza sneered. It's too bad. Sun Wukong lowered his head and said through gritted teeth, I can't beat him. Hey, yeah. Sun Wukong gritted his teeth. He was furious with his efforts, and he planned to fight once, using 20 times the Kaiwang fist. Feeling Sun Wukong's strength doubled again, Frieza was surprised. This guy can still become stronger. What? Monkey King screamed and rushed towards Frieza, and Frieza, who was distracted, was punched. Seeing Frieza flying upside down, Sun Wukong chased after him, putting his hands on his waist. Ha! Kamepai. Chi. Achievement. The huge Kamehei Qigong shot towards Frieza. Frieza stretched out his hand to block it. Oh. Yeah. Frieza gritted his teeth to resist, but soon his figure was submerged by the Qigong wave. Sun Wukong, who had suffered a lot of injuries, trembled slightly, and the 20 times Kaiwangquan was still unbearable for him. He stared intently at the midair, and saw that the light was dim. The smoke cleared. Frieza was still suspended in the midair, and only suffered some skin trauma. It's over. Sun Wukong's pupils shrank sharply, and the 20 times Kaiwang fist had no effect. Sun Wuhan was so shocked that he couldn't speak. It's unbelievable. Wukong's blow just now was so powerful that he couldn't hurt Frieza. Krillin's feet were unsteady, and his words were full of despair as he knelt on one knee. Father's anger has begun to weaken. Sun Wuhan was shocked to the point of numbness. Cold sweat dripped from his forehead, soaking his eye sockets. How can there be such a powerful person in the world? Keelan's body began to tremble, and he felt deep fear. It's over. Piccolo stared at Frieza over there with a blank face. King Kai is right, no matter what, you shouldn't fight against Frieza. Hoo. Sun Wukong couldn't bear the side effects of the 20 times Realm King fist. His hands were on the ground with difficulty, and he couldn't even stand up. Yeah, it was really dangerous just now. That guy has such great power. Frieza, who was floating high in the sky, looked down and sighed. Then he looked at the scar on his arm, clenched his fist angrily, Saiyan. Frieza swooped down and landed in front of Monkey King. Looking at Monkey King, who was struggling to stand, he gritted his teeth and said, "Boy, you hurt me." Frieza quickly rushed towards Sun Wukong, bumping his head on him. "You should also feel the pain." Hoo-hoo. Sun Wukong was knocked upside down and fell to the ground with a dent. He gasped heavily and tried to get up with difficulty, but his body was shaking all the time. Chuck, chuck. Frieza walked in front of Monkey King with graceful steps. He raised his leg and kicked out, and the unilateral beating began. Boom. Despair. Weren't you arrogant just now? Why can't you do it now? Frieza frowned in contempt for the half-dead Monkey King who was knocked to the ground by him. Son Gohan cursed angrily, and he ran towards Frieza. Wow. Seeing Son Gohan's action, Krillin also quickly followed, raising his foot and planning to kick Frieza. Hey. Not to be outdone, Piccolo rushed over with a knife in his hand. Drink. The punches and kicks of the three were all in vain, or were easily dodged by Frieza, even if they fired Qigong waves and hit Frieza. Frieza didn't get hurt at all. He stretched out his two index fingers indifferently, and shot double death beams at Son Gohan. Vegeta, who opened his eyes and sat up, saw this scene. He grabbed the hand on the ground and quickly stepped forward to kick Gohan away. Get out of the way, idiot. The death beam quickly hit a rock, and immediately exploded. The power was extremely powerful. I can't see his attack. Keelan murmured profusely as he watched the light beam passing by him. Sun Wuhan was lying on the ground, his eyes widened even more, and he was in a daze. Vegeta can actually see Frieza's attack. He has become stronger. Piccolo was secretly shocked as the cold sweat on his forehead slid down his cheeks. Thank you for saving me. Sun Wuhan got up from the ground. Vegeta didn't even look at him, and kept staring at Frieza. Don't get me wrong, I didn't intend to save you, I'm just afraid that you won't see my wonderful performance later. Are you confident that you can beat Frieza? Piccolo asked, turning his head. Hee, step aside, don't hinder me. Vegeta took a few steps forward, and looked at Frieza with pursed lips. Vegeta, you seem to be full of confidence. Could it be because of excessive fear that your mind is dizzy? Seeing such an arrogant Vegeta, Frieza sneered. Don't be so crazy, I've become the Super Saiyan you fear the most. Vegeta clenched his fist proudly. Frieza was stunned for a moment, but soon recovered and laughed at Vegeta. Ha ha ha, you're kidding too much. Drink. Vegeta stopped talking nonsense, and he started to get angry with a loud drink. His hair began to turn yellow, his whole body was covered with yellow flames, and his pupils also turned light green and blue, after the original. The system issued a mission. The host defeated Frieza. The reward for completing the mission is to activate the Super Saiyan bloodline to 30%. Update information. The host Vegeta, the normal combat power is 116 million, and the Super Saiyan combat power is 5,800 million. The Super 1 progress bar is full, and the normal combat power is 200 million. The normal combat power is 316 million, and the Super Saiyan form has a combined combat power of 1 million. Expand the Super Saiyan 5800 progress bar, and 2% has been activated. When Vegeta heard the first half of the system's words, he got stuck for a moment, and his fighting power doubled after being beaten by Krillin, which evolved to the fighting power of a Super Saiyan. Without the 1 million given by the system, Vegeta wouldn't even be able to defeat Frieza in his final form. Is Ruanfen so delicious? The fighting power in the world of Dragon Ball really collapsed. Sun Wukong completely relied on Kai Wang Fist to harden Frieza. And he also has something to rely on. He took back what he said at the beginning. What makes the combat power soar to million in a month? This is like sending him million in an instant. Well, Ruanfen can make people lose their strength in an instant, and it is delicious to take a shortcut. It is not impossible for him to do the tasks issued by the system in the future. Thoughts surged in the blink of an eye. Vegeta didn't care so much. He clenched his fists excitedly and looked at Frieza. Frieza looked at the hugely changed Vegeta in disbelief. What's going on? When did you transform into this? Don't Saiyans just turn into giant apes? How about you? Say it, I've transformed into a Super Saiyan now. Vegeta crossed his arms and looked at Frieza with a mocking expression. Tremble. Frieza, Vegeta said and moved quickly, appearing in front of Frieza in the blink of an eye. You, Frieza looked at the person in front of him in surprise, he reached out to punch Vegeta. HMPH. Vegeta grabbed his arm easily, the Emperor of the Universe should change hands too. Frieza. Frieza struggled to escape Vegeta's imprisonment, and he backed away in panic. Click. Ah, he distanced himself from Vegeta with disbelief written all over his face. How did you become so powerful all of a sudden? Could it be that you really are? Frieza, the Saiyans you fear have become Super Saiyans, all those Saiyans who killed, enslaved us to rob the planet for you, I want your blood to pay. It's time to end the wish for the original owner, Vegeta smiled, clenched his fists and let out a loud noise. It is unreasonable not to avenge him for stealing someone's body, after all, I have such a powerful strength. Ha ha ha, Vegeta swung his fist violently at Frieza. This is the Super Saiyan. Sun Wukong frowned seriously and looked at Vegeta, whose power was terrifying. Keelan and Sun Wufan helped Sun Wukong up, took out the fairy beans he was carrying and gave him one. What a terrifying power. Piccolo also had a dull expression on his face. Looking at Frieza who was thrown into the air by himself, Vegeta rushed straight up to Frieza's back, hammering with both hands. Frieza fell quickly from the hammer, smashing the ground out of a big hole. He roared angrily, and sent the gravel buried on his body flying away. Frieza flew up slowly until he was hanging opposite Vegeta. That's pretty nice to say, should those killed by Saiyans deserve to die? Are you worthy of saying this? The Saiyans perished because of this. Vegeta turned his head and spat. It was me who killed them, I just hate Saiyans. Frieza smiled, confidently without a trace of shame. So now it's my turn to destroy you. Vegeta looked at Frieza with madness and excitement. Destroy me, you really overestimated your capabilities. Could it be that you forgot that you were my defeat? Frieza didn't believe that Vegeta could surpass him at all. Even if you were a real Super Saiyan now, you can't win me. Frieza's big words were mercilessly beaten by the facts. Then Vegeta beat Frieza unilaterally with his punches. Monkey King and the others were forced to retreat again and again by the powerful arrogance, and had to stay away. Vegeta, you! Frieza yelled angrily when he couldn't find Vegeta moving at high speed. Reluctantly, he directly released Qigong waves to the surroundings. Boom! Bang bang bang! The land was blown to nothing, and Vegeta stood at a high altitude and looked down. He suddenly appeared in front of Frieza and stretched out his palm to him. Hee, Frieza, admit it, you can't beat me. After Vegeta finished speaking, he directly sent Frieza flying with his breath. Ah! Frieza was spun around by the shock and managed to stabilize his body. He gritted his teeth and looked at Vegeta. Vegeta smiled, and the next moment he appeared in front of Frieza, and quickly punched him on the cheek. Before Frieza could react, he turned slightly sideways and hit Frieza's jaw with another elbow. Frieza watched Vegeta kick again in pain, and quickly dodged backflips. It's amazing. The four of Monkey King retreated far away, floating in the air and watching. Watching Frieza do a backflip, Vegeta hit his head on his back with force, and Frieza screamed in pain, ah! Ah! Frieza's eyes widened angrily, and he tried hard to punch and kick Vegeta, but Vegeta easily dodged them. Swish! Seeing that his fists and feet were useless at all, Frieza quickly stepped back and opened the distance. He panted heavily and stretched out his fingers to shoot a death beam at Vegeta. Vegeta watched indifferently, and when the death beam was about to hit him, Vegeta suddenly dodged to the right. Whoosh! What? You were able to avoid it? Frieza yelled in surprise, and he fired death beams continuously. How is that possible? Beep beep. All the death beams were dodged by Vegeta. Whoosh whoosh. If you were hit, you would have died long ago. Frieza was so angry that his whole body was trembling. Then you hit me. Vegeta sneered. Frieza was taken aback when he said this. He felt that he was being slapped in the face by an invisible hand. What are you talking about? Bah, you are too rampant. I want to let you know how to write the word, regret. Frieza resolutely fired a death beam at Vegeta again. Vegeta didn't dodge either, and was hit in the face by the death beam just like that. His head was thrown back after being hit, but after receiving Frieza's move, his chin was scratched a little, not even a little blood. Hee, look, even if you hit, I'm fine. Frieza opened his mouth, trembling with surprise. He looked at Vegeta standing in front of him in disbelief. Who are you? Hee, are you scared, stupid? Didn't I just say that? Vegeta mocked Frieza with contempt. I am the Saiyan prince who endured the humiliation and survived in order to kill you one day. The hatred for you awakened me to become a legendary warrior. Super Saiyan, Vegeta. Vegeta clenched his fists and shouted, as if silently proving something, his arrogance soared. Frieza gritted his teeth and stared at Vegeta. I see. It really looks like a Super Saiyan. Ah! Frieza suddenly raised his head to the sky and screamed, waving his fist angrily. He stared at Vegeta fiercely. No one had ever dared to humiliate him like this. Vegeta, an idiot who has been begging under him for so many years, is like a dog in his eyes. Now I am so embarrassed by a dog. Why? How could he become a Super Saiyan? Impossible, this must be a nightmare. Frieza is still the strongest emperor in the universe. Die, Frieza. Vegeta opened his hands wide, ready to release super energy to kill Frieza in one fell swoop. It would be better for you to kill me than to commit suicide. Frieza also realized that he really couldn't beat Vegeta. He clenched his fists and said angrily. HMPH, it doesn't matter. Vegeta said coldly. How could I die? Frieza suddenly raised his hands high, and the energy balls gathered between his palms. With the continuous injection of energy, the condensed power became stronger and stronger. The ball of light became bigger and brighter, and Frieza roared loudly, you should be the one who died. Swish. Vegeta's astonishment disappeared in a blink of an eye. He quickly dodged, and the huge energy ball smashed into the sea level, bringing unimaginable destruction to the planet. Even standing outside the planet, you can see a huge light shining somewhere on the planet, and everyone's figures are gradually submerged by the light. The light slowly dissipated, and a huge crater appeared on the vast sea. Countless lightning sparks crackled and flashed on the crater. You actually escaped, Frieza said with a trace of regret, but soon he changed the subject and began to feel complacent again. But this planet won't last long. HMPH, what does this have to do with me? I don't have a homeland. Vegeta shrugged indifferently. His hometown had long been destroyed by Frieza. No, you got it wrong. This planet will explode soon, and I can survive in the universe. How about you? Super Saiyan Vegeta. Frieza laughed gleefully. Vegeta spat in disdain. You still have the virtue of destroying the planet at every turn, Frieza. I just need to kill you before the planet explodes. Vegeta raised his hand, showing an evil smirk. HMPH, I'm the only one who can survive. Frieza yelled loudly, let me show you my true strength. You are doomed to fail, as always. I'm a Super Saiyan now. Vegeta snorted coldly and urged impatiently, hurry up and use your full strength. If he didn't defeat Frieza who showed his full strength, he felt that he was playing lonely, and he wanted to make Frieza have nothing to say. The sky was dark, hurricanes roared from the ground, and earthquakes broke out frequently. Watching such a scene was like the end of the world. Gohan, you and Keelan go back first, I'm afraid Bulma will be in danger by himself. Monkey King turned to look at Monkey King and ordered. What about you, Dad? Sun Wuhan asked a little worried. I'll stay here for now. If Vegeta defeats Frieza, we'll go back too. Uncle Piccolo. Son Gohan turned to look at Piccolo. Go, Piccolo said without looking back, his eyes followed Vegeta closely. I will destroy you. Ha 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 ha. Frieza clenched his fists, the muscles all over his body swelled, the veins on his forehead swelled, and the aura on his body became stronger and stronger. Hee hee, are you finally going to use your full strength? Vegeta watched silently. Vegeta, why don't you attack him while he's gathering energy? Krillin and Son Gohan flew towards the spaceship, looking back from time to time. Maybe I want to see how powerful Frieza is under his full strength. Son Gohan also turned his head to look. You Saiyans really know how to be brave. Keelan said he could not agree. Frieza's combat effectiveness is still rising, 85% 90%. Hee hee, the full power of Frieza, the strongest in the universe. I really want to see it. Vegeta crossed his arms and didn't panic at all. Because he knew that Frieza's full combat power was 1,000,002, which was the official accurate value, which was much weaker than his own 1,000,000 or so. Let him teach Frieza how to be a person today. Frieza's tiger body trembled, and then he clenched his fists with excitement, and looked at Vegeta. I've waited for a long time, this is the real strength you've been waiting for. I don't feel like I'm looking forward to it. Vegeta put down his hands clasping his chest, with an undisguised look of contempt. At the moment Vegeta spoke, Frieza had already launched an attack. He quickly punched Vegeta in the abdomen, then pressed Vegeta's head, and kicked hard with his knee. The action is complete. Boom! Snapped. Frieza didn't finish this. After he let go of his hand, he took turns beating Vegeta violently with both fists. Vegeta screamed in pain. Ah! How do you feel? This is just a warm-up exercise. Frieza breathed out, and looked at the hunched Vegeta with satisfied lips. Hey, it's so-so, it's far from what I expected. Vegeta raised his head and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. HMPH, before I kill you, I still have to praise you, you are really amazing. There was praise in Frieza's words. If it weren't for me, you might really be allowed to sit in this #1 position in the universe. Really, you really think highly of yourself. Without you, I, Vegeta, will be #1 in the universe. Vegeta wasn't worried about provoking Frieza at all. HMPH. Sure enough, Frieza clenched his fists and snorted angrily. He roared loudly, trying to put aside this ruthless fact. Speak wild words, shut up. Drink. Angry Frieza suddenly assumed an attacking posture, and Vegeta wanted to meet him, but Frieza jumped on top of him, sending his air to Vegeta. Facing the oncoming air pressure, Vegeta instinctively stretched out his hand to protect the front door. At this moment, Frieza took the opportunity to quickly move behind him, wanting to punch Vegeta in the back. Swish! Vegeta twisted to dodge. He grabbed Frieza's punching arm, and spun him straight into the air. Ah, drink! Frieza, who was standing high in the sky, hated Vegeta, gnashing his teeth and being extremely angry. Wow ah ah! Frieza was furious again. He held up an atmospheric bomb and shot at Vegeta, and Vegeta fired with a purple energy ball. The two confront each other. Go to hell, Frieza! Vegeta shouted. Ah! Both of them are struggling to penetrate each other's energy ball. Drink ah ah! After all, Frieza's aura began to gradually weaken and was invincible, and was gradually swallowed by Vegeta's energy ball, and even Frieza's figure disappeared into the energy ball. This time, I can finally avenge the dead Saiyan, Vegeta said and lifted the Super Saiyan status. Win. Piccolo looked on, and said in a daze. So perverts are always Saiyans. He was first crushed by Monkey King, and now he is overwhelmed by Vegeta's strength. Hey, that's great, Vegeta, you saved Namek. Monkey King also exclaimed excitedly. HMPH. Vegeta crossed his arms arrogantly and looked at Monkey King. This guy's protagonist halo has been almost snatched by him, and he is so simple to praise himself. Is he out of his mind? Still out of my mind. Kakarot, you can also become a Super Saiyan, just use your anger. Vegeta suddenly felt that the Monkey King in front of him was really pitiful. So let me remind you kindly. After thinking about the direction of the original plot, Vegeta felt that he could ask Kakarot to go to Yadrat. After all, teleportation is his ultimate move. By the way, there is a round single-person spaceship left by the Ginyu team over there. You can go to the planet Yadrat, and you may have unexpected surprises. I'm leaving, Vegeta said without looking at the remaining two, and flew in one direction. Anyway, that's all his kindness. Whether Kakarot will go or not is his own business. Host, why don't you go to Yadrat Star with Monkey King to learn teleportation? How convenient is this move? Hearing Vegeta's words, the system couldn't help asking. If I really want to learn, I want to learn something more advanced than teleportation. Vegeta said lightly. Such as spatial movement, the system feels that if he has a face, he will definitely grin in embarrassment. If you think so, is there something for him to learn? Also room to move. The system thinks that it is necessary to issue a difficult task to Vegeta, so that he knows not to be whimsical. Although Frieza was defeated, the homeland of the Namekians will soon disappear. Piccolo looked at the desolate and withered land and said with emotion. Hurry up and revive the dragon on the earth, and make a wish. The voice of King Kai suddenly rang in Monkey King's ear. Hey, Frieza is finally dead. I can't think of a Super Saiyan so powerful, but why is it Vegeta? King Kai doesn't know whether this result is luck or misfortune, and what Vegeta said to Goku, is it true? Can Son Goku become a Super Saiyan? Otherwise, if Vegeta goes bad again one day and wants to destroy the Earth. Hurry up and go back to the spaceship, this planet doesn't know when it will explode. Piccolo turned to look at Monkey King. The two also left quickly. Just after everyone left, a figure emerged from the sea water, and he suspended his body with difficulty. It's Frieza. At this time, he was missing an arm, and most of his tail was broken, and there was a big hole in his chest that was bleeding continuously. On the way of flying, Vegeta heard the voice of the system ringing in his mind. The system task, the host defeated Frieza, has been completed. Reward Super Saiyan blood activated to 30%. Update information. The host Vegeta, the normal combat power is 360 million, the strongest combat power is 1,000,009, Super Saiyan 2 has been activated by 30%. Hehe. Vegeta smiled and landed on his spaceship. He wanted to start his journey in the universe and continue to become stronger. If you are lonely, go back to Earth and torture Kakarot. Perfect. When the spaceship flew out of the atmosphere, Vegeta saw that there was a spaceship that was Bulma when they came. There is also a ship with a strange shape, which is probably from the Namek people, maybe the ones he saved. Then came the round single-person spaceship. I really didn't expect Kakarot to listen to his own opinion. As the spaceships sailed towards their own destinations, the Namek star, which was getting farther and farther away, suddenly exploded and turned into dust in the universe. Later, under Shenlong's wish, all the Nameks killed by Frieza and his gang were resurrected and temporarily lived on the Earth's Bulma side. Bulma and his party also returned to Earth smoothly. Everyone also learned that Monkey King went to Yodrat alone under the reminder of Vegeta. Although he was a little worried, there was nothing he could do. Later, with the help of Balunga Shenlong, Tianjin rice, dumplings, and Yamuti were also revived one after another. As time passed, the Namekians also made a wish with the Balunga dragon, found a suitable planet, and were sent away collectively. And Vegeta took his own spaceship, first found the nearest Frieza planet, filled the spaceship with supplies, and then fled. Then he turned on the autopilot and entered the gravity room for training. The gravity of 500 times the limit is definitely not enough for him in the future. He has to go back to Frieza's planet 46 to find Leonardo and modify it for himself. Anyway, Frieza had already been killed by himself. System prompt. Frieza is not dead. Vegeta of the Super 200 system, who is training with 1 times the weight, paused. This plot is really strong enough. However, it seems that Frieza's life is hard enough. The system issued a mission. The host went to the C-32 star field Gloma star, and defeated the planet master Grey Star King. The mission completion rewards the activation of Super Saiyan bloodline 2 to 40%. Vegeta just came out of the shower and wiped his wet hair when he heard the content released by the system. What the hell? This has absolutely nothing to do with the plot in the Dragon Ball world. Why such a mission is released? Grey Star King is a cruel person. The host needs to defeat him and save his daughter from suffering. Vegeta put on his clothes. I seem to be a good person when you say that. I really can't do something like saving something. He wanted to play himself a villain. This task is just a matter of convenience, and it is also a matter of convenience, it is completely incidental. Hearing what the system said, Vegeta felt that it was not that simple. You don't want to give me a woman, do you? Women will only affect me to become stronger. The system stopped talking. Vegeta didn't know if he guessed it right, but he would never accept other women. Okay, I can take over the task, but don't think about the rest. Vegeta finished eating and sat back in the driver's seat. Settings. C-32 star field Gloma star. A week passed quickly, and Vegeta's spaceship landed on Gloma. Seeing the hatch was opened, Vegeta suddenly thought of it, and asked the system aloud, System, what is the combat power of that Grey Star King? It's almost evenly matched. You will like this kind of life and death battle. Vegeta pursed his lips. It seems that this system is quite good at observing words and expressions, but he had just arrived there, but he had been led into a trap by this system. The place where Vegeta landed was not considered remote, and patrol soldiers riding hover cars soon appeared on the horizon of the wilderness. What trouble? Vegeta stretched out his hand and fired an air bomb at the hover vehicle. The suspension vehicle exploded, and the people on the vehicle were swept away by the huge air wave and fell to the ground, their lives and deaths unknown. Over there, hey, it's really powerful. Vegeta's body slowly rose into the air, and flew towards the east quickly. It's in this castle. Vegeta quickly arrived at the place, looking at the bustling city center below. From the towering castle, a tall man about 2 meters tall flew out soon. He had dark blue skin, pointed ears, thick hair and a long beard. With well-developed muscles, a pair of underpants, and a cloak, it looks wild. Who are you? What do you want to do here? Gray asked vigilantly. Vegeta crossed his arms and looked casually at the person in front of him. Are you Gray Star King? It's the Star King. Gray nodded proudly. You are from an alien. What do you want to do? It's nothing, I just came to kill you. Vegeta asked kindly with his hands open. What kind of burial place do you want to choose? Hearing Vegeta's words, Gray was angry. Yellow-mouthed kid, talk nonsense. So you mean not to choose? Vegeta was not annoyed, and was directly angry. Vegeta noticed that the opponent's strength was very strong, and he became a Super Saiyan from the beginning, and the powerful power that ignited the yellow flame radiated. This made people with a little fighting power in the city look up at the sky one after another, and some people with weak fighting power had trembling legs. It's amazing power. It's the Star King. Who is the other person with flames? The crowd with high combat effectiveness below gathered together in 2s and 3s to point. HMPH. Sensing the change in Vegeta's aura, Gray also had to get serious. He rushed towards Vegeta tentatively and punched him. Vegeta tilted his head to avoid it, bent his arm and hit him with an elbow. Gray was thrown upside down, but he quickly stabilized his body and rushed towards Vegeta again with 7 points of force. Gray raised his leg and kicked Vegeta on the jaw, and Vegeta backflipped to stabilize himself. It's amazing. Vegeta touched his sour chin. Haha, Gray laughed. Vegeta threw a quick punch, and Gray dodged his blow, kicking his right foot hard into Vegeta's chest. Vegeta quickly moved to Gray's back, and hit his head with his left fist. Unexpectedly, Gray seemed to have eyes on the back of his head and squatted down. Vegeta's right hand stretched out after him, and a hand knife was about to slash at his neck. Gray turned his body to the left and swept his legs to Vegeta's waist. Vegeta was swept upside down, backflipped with his feet on the top of the tall castle, and charged towards Gray again. The two fought together again, and they were indeed evenly matched. Soon, Vegeta opened the distance between the two of them, put his left hand on his right arm to hold chi, big bang. Ah ha ha. Gray opened his feet and stabilized his lower body, bent down and stretched out his hands to use his superpower, controlled Vegeta's Qigong wave and flew back towards Vegeta. What? Vegeta was horrified. Is this the ability to manipulate? Vegeta quickly dodged the Qigong wave, and watched the Qigong wave disappear into the sky. His brows were tightly frowned. Is this what the system said was equal to him? Frieza's Cosmic Emperor is a bit misnamed. Gray Star King has the ability to control Qigong waves. I forgot to tell the host, please try to choose physical attacks. The voice of the system sounded in Vegeta's mind. You should have said something earlier about such an important matter. Seeing Gray on the opposite side swooping towards him, Vegeta quickly crossed his hands to resist. The two punched and kicked from midair to the ground, and the crowd who had been watching the midair fight fled away one after another. It's great. I didn't expect you to be so powerful. It's been a long time since I met such an evenly matched opponent. Gray shouted excitedly. Asshole. Vegeta gritted his teeth in distress. This guy is stronger than Frieza, and he is indeed on par with him, but he can't use Qigong waves, and it is difficult to defeat his opponent with just punches and kicks. However, the stronger the opponent is, the stronger you will be if you meet the stronger. Aha! Vegeta was not afraid at all. Even the blood of the Saiyan on his body began to boil, so excited. He raised his fist and kicked towards Gray, and this extremely hard punch made Gray fly backwards, and all the houses along the way were smashed through. Looking at the smoke, Gray's figure suddenly appeared behind Vegeta. Vegeta jumped up as if feeling something, and walked towards the air. Gray also jumped up to chase Vegeta. Are you a coward? You just know how to hide. Ah! Vegeta, who was above the sky, clenched his fists violently, and his strength became stronger again. Really? So have you made up your mind? You thought that shouting louder would make it more powerful. Gray's mouth below curled up, and he flew straight towards Vegeta. He punched Vegeta's lower body. Vegeta folded his hands to block it, and then Vegeta took advantage of Gray's fist to quickly hit him in the face. Gray stretched out his arm to resist, and Vegeta fired a gas bomb at him with the other hand, and Gray quickly dodged. The air bomb hit the city below, and there was a huge explosion sound immediately. The city below was completely changed. Vegeta was a little distracted by the voice below. Gray's elbow had already hit Vegeta's jaw. Vegeta felt pain this time, and the fool picked his jaw specifically to hit him. Gray kicked Vegeta, and Vegeta flew upside down from midair to the ground, and he stretched tens of meters away with one hand on the ground. Vegeta stood up and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, and rushed towards Gray, who was in the air, and the two fought again with fists and kicks. Vegeta fought more and more fiercely, punching Gray's cheek several times, hitting Gray's nose and face bruised. Both of them were bruised and panting heavily. After pulling away again, Gray felt the blood on the tip of his nose and roared angrily. Haha. Vegeta ignored Gray's nonsense, tried to continue to be angry, and then kicked him violently. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.